just a bloke in a bar.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to the Bloke in a Bar podcast. I mean, the first podcast for 2025. Now, Hammy and the Roo, they aren't with us today. They'll be back next week. Do not worry. But the great Timmy joins me. Timmy, mate, how was the break? It
was great, mate. Very wholesome time around Christmas and New Year and all that. Got to the Sydney Cricket Test, watched Australia regain the Border-Gavaskar trophy, of course. And I was about to say, mate, I got the greatest Christmas gift of all time. And it was belated, albeit, but it was actually coming into the studio today, and I thought up until 10 seconds ago that you'd finally cut ties with Guru. I thought he was gone. And then you're telling me he's back next week.
Look, okay, now I hear that feedback now. New year, maybe it's a new team, it's needed.
I thought that's what had happened, and I'm like, hell yeah, how good's 2025 going to be? And then you just ripped it from underneath my feet. But
oh, how good. Matty, how you going, bro?
Good. I won't lie, when the year was done, I was very, very ready for a break. Initially thought, all right, a couple of weeks off, I better enjoy myself, and I did. Definitely did. Last few days have been quite wholesome, but I really need this structure in my life. I'm pretty excited to be back.
Okay, I love to hear that.
How was yours? Mate?
Mate, it was terrible. It was actually terrible. No, it was good seeing family. Friggin' son goes to daycare last week, pick him up on the last day. There's a little baby child. And look, I'm not going to blame the child. I'm blaming the parents, all right? So first of all, this isn't child hate. This is not child hate. There's a little child sitting next to my son, bloody green boogers just dripping out her face. And look, as I said, not her fault. Parents' fault for friggin' putting the child right. Like, seriously, keep the child at home. Anyway, so son comes home, wakes up the next day. He's crook as anything. For about 4 or 5 days, he's got rhinovirus, which is essentially like a flu with a chest infection to a degree, and also conjunctivitis. Anyway, few days before Chrissy starts, everything's about to get going. We're about to go down to Canberra, see the missus family. Boom, guess who gets rhinovirus and conjunctivitis? It's Beak. And so the first 2 weeks essentially were just a write-off, just crook as anything, crook as a dog. Came good this week, which is all right. Got to see the family up in the Gold Coast. So look, you know, as I said, no child hate here, baby, but those parents pull your head in. And you know what I found out as well? That you can actually go to the doctor and they will give you a doctor's certificate to take care of your child if it's sick, so you don't have to go to work. And so I don't think that counts as a sick day. It's like a parental leave day or something like that, which makes me even more furious, because that means that there are people out there that can go to the doctor, get the certificate to take care of their kid. Because my son, the next day, they sent like four kids home. Because, sorry, it was either earlier in the week that happened. And so obviously we didn't send our son back to daycare because he's crook. Anyway, you know what else is crazy? What I just realised, even bigger news, the rapper off Squid Games too, he's a real rapper, Thanos. I just found that out scrolling on Instagram just then. That's insane. I couldn't believe it. I was like, holy shit, he's actually a real rapper. Anyway, Squid Game 2 fans, shout out. Guys, look, we're back, baby. And I tell you what, we're going to celebrate being back in a big way, a big way. That is right. January the 20th at 6 p.m. So Monday, we always do Monday, 6 p.m. January the 20th, so not next Monday, but the Monday after. We are doing 50% off everything at Bloke. Literally everything. And in that drop, we've got new shirts coming out. And they're friggin' unbelievable. Matty, tell me, these shirts, sexy.
Yeah, it's a good time of year for these shirts, because they hit the nostalgic nerve in you a little bit, whilst also with the vibe of the summer of cricket.
You'll love it.
It's fantastic.
You'll love it, guys. So that is and they'll be 50% off as well. So it's 50% off everything at Bloke. So we've still got Could Be Anything shirts. We've got hats. We've got DMP shirts. We've got maroon jumpers, maroon shorts, blue jumpers maybe. Oh, actually, no, I think they're all gone.
Well, I'll tell you what we do have. I've found a couple of things like lying around here and there. So there's going to be like certain items that haven't been on sale for a while that might have like one size left. So
like we're talking 50% off. So for example, I think what our hoodies are $79.99 or $89?
Yes, $89.99.
So you're looking at like $49.
Yeah.
Like cheap as any shirts, I think they'll be like $29, like cheap as anything. So that's on. Not only that. So we're 50% off everything on Bloke on January 20th, 6 p.m. We're doing 25% off everything at Grumpy. So 50% off everything at Bloke, 25% off everything at Grumpy. And as you know, guys, we don't do this very often. Matter of fact, the last time we did this wasn't even a year ago. It was 2 years ago. So it was in 2023 the last time we did a discount. That is Jan 20th to celebrate the new year. 50% off everything and 25% off everything at Grumpy. Set your schedule, set your alarms, because the 50% off sale, it doesn't last until stocks go. It only lasts for a few days. So set your alarms, Jan 20th, 6 p.m.
I'd like to share, Campy, a story before we get stuck into it. I witnessed perhaps the greatest sporting feat since Bradbury at the O2 Winter Olympics at the Sydney Cricket Test. And before I get into it, I must emphasise here at Bloke, we encourage responsible drinking.
Yes.
And this is a do not try this at home kind of scenario. However, greatness must be acknowledged.
Yes.
At the Sydney Cricket Test, day one, I think we were in the Trumpers stand, carrying on. And there was a big fella who got egged on by the crowd to scull his beer on his way up. Not only did he do his beer, he sculled 5 beers in 2 minutes. What? I shit you not. Anyway, it gets better. An hour to an hour and a half later, he goes back, gets his next round. Same thing happened. He sculls 8 schooners in 4 minutes.
What?
And there's no sugar added to this. There's no spice.
No GST.
There's no GST. The videos are on SC
This is a
Playbook.
GST-free story.
It's seriously, and I'm like, it's all filmed. It's on the SC Playbook cricket and NRL pages, so it's there to be witnessed. Mate, I've honestly never seen anything like it in my entire life. Like, I'll do 1 or 2 when I'm in all sorts. He did 13 in the space of 6 minutes, separated, of course.
And also looks a little bit like Guru as well.
He does look a bit like Guru, which made it even better.
So that footage is on your Instagram page.
Yeah.
So this is no GST.
No.
We don't tell GST stories on this podcast. Go to the SC Playbook Instagram page. Check this out, because I've seen this video too, and it is honestly one of the... Look, Australia beating India, it was a big achievement. But I think in the crowd, smacking 8 beers in 5 minutes? No, 2 minutes.
8 in 4.
Smacking 8 beers. Okay, you let me know in the comment section. What's more impressive, beating India at home or smacking 8 beers in 4 minutes after you've already smacked 5 beers in 2 minutes an hour ago?
There was chat around the test that he was going to be named man of the match. Very tight.
Holy, we're looking at Bumrah and 32 wickets, whatever. 32 wickets over 4 tests? Boring. 4.5 tests.
Yeah.
Or 8 beers in 4 minutes. You tell me. You tell me which one's more impressive.
There was nearly enough to get named player of the series. What a phenomenal achievement.
Oh, that is. I mean, look, I tell you what. Reach out. We won't actually. Don't reach out for any beer, because we don't.
No
we
more
don't
beer.
promote that. We don't reach out for some clothing. If you want some clothing, we'll give you a clothing merch voucher. That's absolutely incredible. Absolutely incredible. Don't forget, guys, like and subscribe on all platforms. A bit of housekeeping as well. Like and subscribe. Make sure to like and subscribe, especially on YouTube, because guess what? Brand new content, brand new idea, brand new for 2025. It's called Bloke's Bucket List. And guess what? I'm vlogging. And not vlogging in the sense of like, hey, I woke up, I had a chicken sandwich and here's me drinking a coffee. No. I know that's what you wanted. Apologies, I can't give it to you. Not vlogging in like that connects to my OnlyFans. Not that at all. No. What I'm going to be doing is going to the biggest sporting events across the country, maybe even internationally as well. For example, this Wednesday, I'm going to Jai Opetaia's fight. I'm going to be vlogging the experience and getting access, hopefully, to where, we've been so lucky to create the relationships that we've had. We get access to things that you usually don't get access to. And that's what the vlog is going to be about. So that's going to be dropped most likely on Thursday night. So the Jai Opetaia fight versus Nyika is on Wednesday on Daisy End. You want to get it. Trust me, guys, this is going to be absolute fireworks. Aussie versus Kiwi. They both have sparred together heaps. They're both the same age. Nyika is a bit later in his professional career. It's going to be a banger of a fight, trust me. And we're going to vlog the whole thing, myself and Lukey from Levels. And yeah, that's going to be up on our YouTube page. And as I said, throughout the year, we're going to be vlogging all this content. It's not going to be about me. It's going to be about whatever event I'm going to. I fly on the wall. If we can get into the changing room, interview the players, the fighters, the people around them, the managers, the trainers, everything. That's going to start this year. I hope you guys can like it. It's called Bloke's Bucket List. It's essentially, I want to make it so you can, if let's say you love sport and you wanted to go to these events and want to get access you couldn't get otherwise. Hopefully I can give that via the vlog. And maybe, who knows, maybe I might show a bit of skin. I don't know. If I need to get the views, I'll show skin, baby. I don't care. I'll do it. So you let me know in the comments. You want me to show skin? and I'll get back to you anyway. So, yeah, that's going to happen this year, guys. Cannot wait. And also, we've got way more plans. Make sure to subscribe to YouTube, also Spotify and Apple. Heaps of content. All right, let's get straight into it, shall we? Let's get straight into it. Face of Music, brought to our friends over at Sportsbet. Let's face a bit of Tyson Fury versus Usyk music. Usyk wins on points. Now, it's as I thought it was going to be, in the sense of I just thought that Usyk had already fought him in the first fight. I thought he'd download enough information. He knew enough about Tyson Fury to just outbox him. I am so surprised that some people are calling this a robbery. That is bizarre to me. I thought Usyk completely outboxed him. Now, was it a complete wipe, domination? No, it wasn't. There were some very, very close rounds. I would probably had him winning by about 3 or 4 rounds, but definitely wasn't a robbery. I think that's insane. I definitely thought Usyk won. I think Fury, he's older now. He's past his prime. I don't think he's committed as he was a few years ago. I think Usyk, he's got to go down there. He's definitely pound-for-pound boxer right now, but also I think you have to start to put him in the great chat. You've got to start putting Usyk in the greatest of all time chat. I don't know if you wouldn't put him at number 1, but he is one of the GOATs, in my opinion. He might not have the profile as some of these other greatest of all times. And as I said, I don't think you'd put him at number 1, but I think he is one of the greats in boxing, in my opinion. Dominated his division, goes up to heavyweight. He's fighting guys like 20 kilos heavier or something like that, and have reaches that are way bigger than him, and he's beaten them all. He's beaten guys like Anthony Joshua, Tyson Fury, Dubois. It is just, his resume is amazing. And funnily enough, Usyk, who I consider one of the greatest boxers of all time, he won a split decision against Braidis, who Jai Opetaia has beaten twice now. I don't think in split decisions either way. Both of them have been unanimous, I'm pretty sure. So that's how good Jai Opetaia is. Trust me, guys. Jai Opetaia is the best Australian fighter right now. Every fight he has, you don't want to miss. You do not want to miss. You want to be there and say, I was there when he fought this person, that person. That's on Wednesday night on DZN. Anyway, let's DAZN, sorry.
Is Usyk versus Opetaia, is that like...
I don't know if Usyk will be able to come down. I think he's a bit older now, so he won't be able to lose that weight. However, Opetaia going up, that could be a scenario eventually, because Opetaia is still only 29 years old, got plenty more years left in him, but huge task ahead of him. Look, we'll get to the Opetaia versus Nyika fight. Anyway, back to Face of Music, brought to you by our friends over at Sportsbet. Guys, give us a follow on the feed. We passed 20,000 followers, and on the feed, we've got huge plans there as well, guys. So give us a follow. It's plenty of fun. I've actually had quite a good week on the feed. So give us a follow on Sportsbet, the feed. You just type in bloke in a bar, boom, I'll be right there. Press one button, boom, there it is. All right. Okay, here is our Face of Music. I said Usyk, KO or TKO. And so I said he's going to win by KO or TKO, and I even went specific. I said round 9 or 10. That didn't happen, but he did win. So I get 1 point. Guru said Fury on points decision. Didn't happen. Timmy said he would get back to Hammy, but he didn't. So Hammy says he minuses a point, so you're -1. Matty said Usyk on points. He gets 2 points. Hammy said Fury on points. He gets no points. So here how we start the year. Matty on 2. Denon on 1. Guru on 0. Hammy on 0. Timmy on -1. So you start the year -1. Yeah, I really need going into 2025 to get these negative points out of my game, because they proved pretty detrimental last year.
You just need to get your tips in.
Get your tips in.
Well, it was the last show of the year. I was hopping in the car to go play golf in the Hunter Valley with Guru.
One sentence.
It was the last
sentence.
It was the last thing on my mind, mate.
Usyk on points. That's it. That's how quickly it was written. 5 seconds, I reckon.
I had Usyk on points.
And Hammy also claims he gets a bonus point for calling Webster to debut before anyone else called it. Nah, doesn't happen like that, Hammy. Doesn't happen like that, mate.
He could have had it, but then he didn't turn up today, so he gets -1 for his bonus.
No, hang on a sec here. The bloke on -1 already doesn't get to make the rules. You're lucky you're fucking still in the fight.
I forgot I was with the dictator on the show, mate.
You're on a sports podcast starting the year on -1. That's like you're nearly getting fired over that.
Yeah, I'll win from -1. It's going to be historic. Up there with 8 skulls.
Let's get into it, shall we? Australia defeat India 3-1. I know everyone's waiting on it, guys. I will say this. Disclaimer. I'm new to cricket, so all these opinions I have, I understand they may be incorrect, they may be silly, but I'm just going to give it my all. And I will say this. I genuinely, and maybe it was because the test was so good, it's the first time I've fully sat there, been glued to a cricket test and been like, I'm enjoying this, I can't look away from it, and I have to watch it. So I am now, I think I've over the last couple of years now, I've been talking about getting into cricket. I think I'm into it now. I'm still a rookie, I get it, and I know my opinions aren't going to be hold as much weight as most people, but I think I know a little bit to be able to say some things on it. Again, grain of salt, guys, I get it. But I'm into cricket now. This series for me was unbelievable. And what I love about it from a guy that's new into cricket is an experience you cannot get anywhere else. Every other sport is done within a few hours, like 2 hours, 3 hours, whatever it is. This is something where you go, okay, here's 4 or 5 days and I'm locked in. And at its peak, at its best, its ability to provide excitement and engagement, it's literally no other sport like it. Because there's no other sport that can, on day 3, you think one thing's happening and the whole time you're riveted. And then day 5, you're even more engaged by the end of it. It was an incredible, incredible game. And it's one of the, I'll remember this series as one of my most enjoyable sporting events as watched on TV in quite a while.
Yeah, we spoke in the green room before the show, Kempy, and mate, your knowledge has come on leaps and bounds.
Thanks,
You're getting there.
I'm getting it. Look, as I said, guys, first of all, I'll say this. If I say something and you disagree with it, instead of saying, oh, Dooney, you don't shit about cricket, just argue the argument. Say what I got wrong. It's okay? Anyway.
Then everyone learns and we develop and we grow.
That's what I want, because then I can be like, okay, yeah, cool, all right, I'll take that on board. Anyway, let's get into it. All right, Australia defeat India 3-1. The Boxing Day test, it saw 373,691 people enter the gates. Breaks records from 1937, where Bradman scored 270, which was also a 6-day test. So that's insane. Australia win the series 3-1. They've booked a spot in the World Test Championship. Australia also now hold all bilateral trophies, including the Test Championship, including the World Cup. Bumrah was named Player of the Series. Most runs, Travis Head with 448. Most wickets, Bumrah with 32. Incredible. He might have broken Johnson. Is it Johnson's record of 37?
I don't know.
If he had played that last game. Was it Johnson?
Yeah, Mitch Johnson got 37 in the Ashes 2013.
I reckon he might have broken if he played the last game. Anyway, I reckon Australia won this at the selection table. I reckon that's not the only reason, but think about how crucial both debutants were in the game when we needed them to be.
Yeah, and just on the series as a whole, like you mentioned how special it was, Kempy. Going into it, the world, obviously India had held the Border-Gavaskar trophy for, I think, 10 years or so. There was the spot for the World Test Championships final on the line as well, which again, even if we drew this, it'd go on to the Sri Lankan series that we have coming up back end of January. There's so much on the line, and that's when you take out all the spite between the two teams. And I look at the series as a whole, and I sit there and I go, it felt like Australia, for the best part of it, were pretty dominant. Like we had a 6-wicket win, a 184-run win, the draw at the Gabba in Brisbane, which was pretty dominant on our behalf, but rain obviously caught us there. 10-wicket win, and then India back in Perth, which feels like months ago, 295 dominant run win there. But
lost.
Like India won that one, yeah. But reflecting on it, and the fact that it went down to the last day of the series and somehow India ground their way and managed to stay in the series, that they're a genuine chance of retaining the trophy and drawing the series. You go, all right, we might have been dominant on paper, but it was still that close. It came down to the fact that a question we'll never know. Jasprit Bumrah, if he bowls at second innings, do they win? Do we win? I still back us. It wasn't a major target on the board, but on a deck doing a bit, what Bumrah did in the series, we'll never know. But the reality is we won it. What a phenomenal series.
Yeah, with the Bumrah question, like I get it. Like if he's in there, their reliance on him is crazy. But at the end of the day, the injury he got, which is a strain on the side, usually those injuries come from fatigue. A part of being a professional athlete is durability. And Paddy Cummins actually bowled for the same amount of overs, or there was one overs different. And eventually he bowled 167 overs. At the time when Bumrah got injured, he bowled 152 overs, I think, and Paddy Cummins had bowled 151. And so, like, I get the argument of, if we had Bumrah, he would have won. But it's like, yeah, but you didn't. He got injured.
It's a test series. They're test matches. Their lack of depth in the bowling, plus our batting and them over on our wickets, we made him bowl into the ground. And it's as simple as that. He missed the last innings because he couldn't bowl anymore because of what Australia did to him and because of India's lack of depth. It's not if Bumrah was there. He wasn't there. He wasn't there because he wasn't fit. It's done. It's as simple as that.
And then you compare things and you go, all right, you look at our pace action. Matty emphasised, the depth and the importance. Then you go, all right, well, we had Josh Hazelwood. the number 2 ranked test bowler in the world behind Jasprit Bumrah. He was injured. He missed tests. We had Scott Boland come in. He won man of the match in the next game. India were relying almost solely on Jasprit Bumrah throughout this series. Had a little bit of support from Siraj and a couple of others, but at the end of the day, the question marks were there the whole time. Where is the support for Jasprit Bumrah? And in the final test, in the final innings, it became telling that no, they do rely on him too much and they don't have the depth to cover him.
And I go back to a part of being a professional athlete is durability. Like, it wasn't a freak accident where, you know, I don't know, he's walking out and someone took his legs out and he did his ankle or whatever. Like, it was a strained side that they reckon. And that comes from, unfortunately, just, like, I'm not saying he's not durable. It's like, seriously, Bumrah's performance, that's a crazy shit I've ever seen. Like, I didn't watch the Johnson test 10 years ago or whatever it was, so I didn't see that. Like, every time he bowled, I was nervous. Literally every bowl. Like, there wasn't a single bowl where I was sitting there going, oh, yeah, fuck, just another bowl. It was incredible. But, yeah, as I said, one thing of being a professional is durability. And I go back to Paddy Cummins. And, you know, we can go back, go back to all the way to the start where Paddy Cummins decided to rest before coming into that first test. But I've got to give Paddy Cummins credit. It was right because he was peaking at the right time. And when we needed him to be so fit that he could bowl 167 overs, which is the most of any bowler in all tests, he did it and he killed it. So durability is part of being a professional athlete.
And
anyway.
Mate, you mentioned Kempy there about like one at the selection table and the bold play to put in Bo Webster.
Huge.
Over Mitch Marsh, who's the reigning Allan Border medal winner. And the big factor in that, yes, there was form come into it and Mitchy Marsh hadn't made enough runs, but it was that he wasn't contributing enough with the ball because his body wasn't up to it. And they went, all right, we need someone who can come in and play the same role as him, but get more overs out of. And that was Bo Webster. And he came in and did that. And you're like, they made that big decision.
Huge decision. Like that, and they made that decision off a winning. They won the test. Like the balls to make, like, because that's, I feel like coming into this test series, a lot of the criticism was it's a boys' club, like too soft. They're all mates. They're not willing to drop the current playing group. Like that was some of the criticism of this current roster. But to bring in Mick Sweeney and go, it's Mick Sweeney, correct?
Yeah.
Bring him in, and like he didn't play shocking, but he didn't also play great. But then to bring in Konstas and do what he did, like I understand, like we can talk about Konstas in his next test and whatever happened there or whatever, but his 60-run debut, like he was the first batter I felt in this series that really took it to Bumrah. And if we didn't have that 60 runs, do we win that series? I'm not sure. I don't know if we go back and look at the point, like how many runs we had. And so again, I'm not saying that the only reason we won the test was because of selections, but I do think the selection table was one of the big factors in why we won.
And circling that back to, excuses of, what if Bumrah was there, what if he wasn't? But it's like, at the end of the day, he had no support. And it comes down to 3 telling overs across the course of the series. And that was the first 3 overs of Australia's final innings, where they came out India, no Bumrah, needed to have their tails up, needed to take an early wicket or two and go, no, you're only chasing 150, 160, whatever it was, but we're going to heap pressure on you. We're going to make this as hard as we can. And they had Siraj and Krishna, and they conceded 35 runs in the first 3 overs of an innings in a test match, which is remarkable. It was the most Australia had scored in the first 3 overs of a test match ever. The pressure was just relieved immediately. And it was like they came out and they got Konstas off an absurd shot not long after that, and they were 1 for 39 or something. It was like, it's too late. Like all of a sudden you're chasing 110 and the foot's been taken off the throat, and it was like they somewhat cruised to victory. It was relatively comfortable.
It was weird, because there was periods where we lost Marnus, and then when Steve Smith went as well, and I was like, oh shit, like what's going on here? And then when talk about Bo Webster's calming presence.
But
Jesus.
There was 10 wides, as in like across 2 balls, 2 lots of 5 wides in that first 3 overs, and you're just going, you cannot do this at this level. No one can get away with it.
Look, okay, imagine this. Imagine Paddy Cummins get injured going into the last day. Imagine if Stark, Boland, Webster rolled out and threw and bowled 10 wides. You'd be going, what the fuck?
If I was an Indian fan, I would be absolutely ropeable at how they bowled on day 5. They were just throwing up some of the biggest pies you've ever seen. It's a small run chase. There's been not a team who's got over 180 in the whole test. And even after they let Konstas get 30 runs so quickly, when Travis Head and Webster were in, they put the field back, and then they were just like, sweet, we've got 3 days to go, single. It It was horrendous from India, especially after the day before when they actually bowled all right in
Well, that's the
parts.
crazy thing. The day before, Bumrah goes off. They fucking got a bunch of wickets straight away, and you're going, I actually put in my synopsis or wrap up of the day how brave India were when Bumrah went off, and all of a sudden they stood up and it was like kind of like, oh, okay, everyone's talking about India's depth. Maybe it's just because they almost feel like if Bumrah's here, we'll just rely on him. And then once they lost him, they were like, okay, we need to step up now. But they didn't do that in the last day.
Just a quick fact check. So I just went back and looked at most wickets in a series in Australia. The record is Rodney Hogg actually in the 1970s with 41, but there was 6 matches back then. Then there was another guy in the 1920s, M. Tate, who got 38. Then it was Johnson. So he wouldn't have broken. Johnson doesn't have the record, but it was close enough.
Yeah, and I think also like it's probably more comparable because I'm assuming the pitches back in the day would have been a bit different.
A lot rougher.
A lot rougher,
especially in the 1920s.
Yeah. Anyway, so I thought for a team that I felt like Australia this series answered so many questions so heading into the series, there was a whole Paddy Cummins thing going to Coldplay, and even I was looking at that as a guy that didn't really understand cricket. The only thing, and you can go back in me saying it, the only thing I was like is like, surely that Australia, they have enough data to go, Paddy Cummins he cannot play before this series. And Paddy, after the game, actually said the reason why he didn't play before this series was because he wanted to be peaking by the last few tests. And you got to give Paddy Cummins credit. Like, huge call, did it, and he was right. He was right. They won the series. Then you had this. There was questions about the selectors heading into this. That it was a boys' club, that they were too loyal, and I felt like they made the hard decisions when they needed to. Now, I think coming out of it, the only negatives is really, in my opinion, it's probably the Marnus, Usman, Steve Smith-ish, but Marnus Usman that I have a bit of concerns about, because there's been a lot of questions about, like, all the talk has been about Konstas. And I get it. He's a young kid. He's got swagger. He's been chirping up, blah, blah, blah. He's been ramp shot. He's been doing this. Granted, I understand he had less innings than Usman and Marnus, but guess who averaged the most out of all those 3 players? Konstas. He averaged 22.2 or something like that.
25 or something.
Oh, yeah, so I get it. He had less innings, but I mean, when you actually just take away whether he has swagger or he doesn't have, let's say he was just no-name player, had no swagger and just kept his head down and he got those runs, I think we'd all be sitting there going, job well done.
For sure. Like, we could sit here in a year's time, and if he gets a 60 here and a 20 here, we'll be like, all right. But in those last 2 tests, we needed, as you said before, we needed someone to take on Bumrah. And that's what he did. He rattled Bumrah for the only time in the series. No one else even did it after Konstas. He got a good 60. He failed in the second innings, sure. But in Sydney, I know he got 2 20s. And on paper, that looks bad. But
it's better than our other 2.
It's better than our other 2, but he got our second innings off to the best possible start, because when it's a low score, when you're chasing a low score, that's you just need quick runs at the start, and that just takes the pressure off immediately, and more importantly, puts the pressure on the bowling team, and they start to panic, and that's what India did. I think Konstas, it is the biggest tick of all. It is, yes, he didn't get hundreds, and again, in a year's time, if he doesn't get hundreds, whatever, it's going to be a different story in a year, but he did exactly what the team needed him to do, in my opinion.
Yeah, like he's 19. We're talking a 19-year-old here. Like, think about
great.
the ceiling on this bloke.
Yeah.
That Boxing Day morning, the best morning session of Boxing Day I've ever seen in my life, and probably ever will. Tries to reverse ramp. The best bowler in the world, who Australian openers couldn't play, or any players in general could play for the whole series, and just tries to missed 3 of them.
That's the best part. He missed his first 2, and I remember looking at my mates thinking, I hate this. What is going on? And then he just doesn't care. He just starts nailing it.
It's not as bad, but it's like a footy player getting in their opponent's 20. Or even coming out of their own end, really. Throwing 2 cutout balls over the sideline and then throwing the third that goes. And also, he is the first person, I think, maybe ever, to hit Bumrah for 4 in the first bowl of the first innings ever.
Yeah, right.
And I'm pretty
sure.
And I'm pretty sure as well, I'm pretty sure Bumrah hadn't been hit for 6 in like 3 years or something. Or it might have been ever. I can't remember.
And
something like that.
The reality is, if he got bowled doing that or caught at fine leg or third man, whatever it was, the newspapers the next day would have been, this kid never deserves to wear a baggy green in his life. But he persisted with it. And more to that point, it's a tick for Andrew McDonald. It's a tick for Pat Cummins, because they clearly said, mate, go out and play your natural game. They would have talked about the ramps. They would have talked about the reverse ramps. They would have trained for it, and he would have gone, no, I feel comfortable scoring runs this way. And again, his next 3 innings didn't quite pan out the way the first one did, but that's what he was comfortable with. He had success with it, albeit a bit shaky at the start. Absolutely brilliant. He has so much talent. To play a little bit of devil's advocate with him, he needs to temper it a little bit.
Oh, for sure.
Because
but he's 19.
Of course.
It's almost like it's a rookie coming into first grade expecting him to be the complete player immediately.
Of course. But the temperament is just...
It's wild.
I was going to say something like I've never seen before, but, there was an early David Warner, but probably more aggressive than that. I think a great example for him is Jake Fraser-McGurk, who this time 12 months ago we were sitting there going, does he come into the test frame? He's the most aggressive player we've seen in years. He's a phenomenal talent. Jake Fraser-McGurk has a massive future, but at this level of cricket, you're playing against world-class opposition and world-class coaches who they zero in on your negatives very quickly. And
you saw Bumrah in that second innings with Konstas.
Yeah, and he's having a bit of trouble with in-swinging balls and dealing with that, and it's only going to get worse. And Jake Fraser-McGurk, he's hardly scored a run since the IPL earlier this year, and he's played a lot of cricket, struggled in the Big Bash, struggled for Australia against, I think it was Pakistan, and it's a great side-by-side example for Konstas to go, mate, you're on top of the world right now off the back of essentially a 60-run innings and a few domestic knocks, but we need you to build and build and build over the next 12 months, especially with the World Test Championships final coming up in mid-year.
Oh, mate, I'm absolutely, to be super clear here, I don't think, as Matty as well, no one on this panel is suggesting that Konstas is the perfect player and let's just fucking go, let's get on the board, he's killing it, or whatever. Mate, I totally agree. There were some shots where you're like, if you could just, it's a little bit when I watch Reece Walsh in regard to if you could just pick those moments just a little bit
very Reece Walsh vibes.
Yeah, and I'm not comparing him in regard to the swagger or I'm just talking about big plays because he's a big play kind of guy. If you could just pick that just a little bit better, but guess what? I feel like experience is going to do that. And also, I look at Usman and I look at Marnus at the moment, and they make runs at such a slow rate. It's I feel like we. Again, I know I'm a rookie, guys, and I'm sure someone out there sitting there going, winning it, but I feel like we kind of do need someone aggressive in there because Marnus and Usman play at such a slow rate. And so it's it almost releases. I know Usman got out in the first innings. Second innings, he did quite well. He obviously scored a 40. But yeah, I think that the swagger and the cockiness is overshadowing the fact that he actually averaged better than Marnus and Usman. Again, I know it was on less innings, but I think that when you just look at what he was brought in to do, you looked at the fact that he averaged more than Marnus and Usman, I think it's a tick.
I think as well, it's just good for the balance of the team. Marnus's 70 in the second innings in Melbourne was so good. It was so important. There was wickets falling around him. He batted at a slow rate. He batted at strike rate of 40 the whole series. And at some points, I was getting frustrated, but we needed those 70 runs, and it was so important for that time. Whereas Konstas, when he needed to score runs quickly, he did. It's good for the balance of the team. I think.
Well, wasn't Warner quite aggressive? I'm not saying he's aggressive as
Warner
Konstas.
was aggressive, and the best opening combo we've had since Langer and Hayden is Chris Rogers and Warner, who are complete opposite of each other. And that's basically what it is. And I think it freed up Uzi. I know Uzi ended up getting out and he got a 40, but he had that second innings in Sydney had a good innings as well. I think it frees up Uzi. I think it's a good combination to have at the top of the order.
What do we think about Usman and Marnus? I think that's the only kind of question I had about the batting order, coming out of it. I felt is it front order? Is that what it's called?
Top order.
Top order. I feel like our mid to back order, if that's what you call it, saved us fucking so many times. And so I just wonder going into, for example, was he getting out in that last bowl? It's as an experienced player, surely you find a way. I know it's Bumrah bowling, I get it, but I just liken it to league. Let's say we've got one of the best defenders in the world and one of the best attackers in the world. Surely you make that tackle. You just got to make that tackle. I'm a rookie, so maybe I'm stupid, but that's the kind of.
Oh yeah, there's top order issues. Which when you're, I think that's put us back to number one in the world. We're obviously in the World Test Championship final where you take on South Africa. But there's issues because yes, Travis Head, as somewhat dominant as we were in this series, Travis Head with the bat, particularly early on in the series, he saved us a lot. Steve Smith back into form, that is enormous, because if he was struggling for runs along with Marnus and Uzi and question and Konstas, there's just like, there would have been big issues. The beauty of it is now going to the Sri Lankan series, 2 tests, you probably stick with quite a similar squad. You might like play another spinner. There's a couple little things that you can do, but it just gives them 2 tests without any major pressure because we're locked into it.
Could you bring in Konstas Sweeney for Sri Lanka? Is that crazy talk?
I think Sri Lanka, we're going to see a completely different team, to be honest. I heard, the whispers I was hearing is that they were going to open with, this is before Konstas, they were going to open with Travis Head and then put Pete Handscomb in the middle order.
Just to trial it, because they're like, well, it doesn't mean nothing, but in terms of the World Test Championships, it means something.
Well, also because Pete Handscomb is unbelievable at playing spin. And the last time we were in the subcontinent, Pete Handscomb played in all 4 tests. He didn't score that many runs. He scored some runs. So that's the whispers that, very much whispers that I was hearing before. Konstas may have thrown a spanner in the works now, but I think Handscomb's already in the squad, so I reckon there'll be a different team.
Why I see Konstas is this: if he was an experienced vet of like, I don't know, 50 tests or maybe more, and he was 28 years old, like for example, if he was Bo Webster's age, which I think Bo Webster's 29, so around that, then you'd be like, you know, you're too rough around the edges. Like it's been this long, you're rough. But I think what makes me excited about Konstas is the fact that he's 19. So I'm going to expect the roughness around the edges. Look, the whole swagger and the cockiness thing, I get it. Some people are like, you've got to earn your stripes, and some people are like, nah, just let him do what he wants to do. I just think that it's a new generation, and like someone's going to play better when they talk like they're, you know, loud and cocky and swagger, and other players aren't going to play like that. I think that the main thing that Konstas has to know is that if you're going to do that, there's a massive target. Like if you're going to be the swagger and the chat and this, that, and the next thing, every test you go into, there is going to be a target on your back. If you are willing to take that target, then by all means, and you're playing good cricket, then great. But it's just going to be this roller coaster ride where, you know, we even saw in this test where he went out 60, you know, hit 60, killed it, everyone loved him. And then the next innings, he went okay, but didn't go so well, you know, in the back end. I still think his last innings, I was happy with that. I thought he got runs quickly.
I was happy with it.
He took pressure. Like we had didn't have many runs to chase. We had plenty of times, all that. So, but we saw already the media going, "Oh, this is a great like story," which is great, which is fair enough. It's an opinion. I get it. Me personally, like I would never come in and be chirpy like that. That's not how I would. But everyone's different. Like everyone's different.
And it was all good and well. It was just the nature of the final dismissal, chasing those runs was just like, it was so outlandish and unnecessary shot. But look, up until that point, and even you talk about that flamboyance and that attitude and like a little bit of ego there, I guess. As you said, he's 19 years old. He came at that Boxing Day morning and played one of the best Boxing Day morning knocks we've seen. He was on top of the world. It's like, let him enjoy his moment in the sun and get it out of his system and enjoy it. He'll learn, he'll mature. Like, remember what we were like at 19 years old? If in 2 years' time, he's a bit old, he's 21, he's been around the scene for long, if he's still, you know, take things a little bit too much over the top, you sort of say, all right, come on, mate, like, ease it down a bit. But for the sake of 2 test matches in Australia, beating India, getting under their skin, let him enjoy it, I'm fine.
I think the only thing he did wrong, in my opinion, and everyone's opinion is different on this, I think the only thing he did wrong in the 2 tests was chirp at Bumrah at the non-strikers. Everything else is play on for me.
I'm conflicted with that because, like, Bumrah's having a crack at Uzi, and maybe it's a league thing, but, like, if that's my mate and someone's having a crack at him, like, you're always supposed to stand up for your mate. So I just would love to know the context. Like, was Bumrah having a crack at Uzi? And I know he was wasting time, you know, whatever. India would have done the same thing.
India were doing the same thing with Gill.
Yeah, so what I'm saying is that, like, he's having a crack at Uzi, and then Konstas, all he probably said was like, mate, like, beat it or whatever. Like, he's just if he was just sticking up for his mate, like, I'm a bit torn because I want him to stick up for Uzi.
I'm reluctant to say anything because I'm like, I don't know the exact context. I don't know exactly what was said. So I'm like, who knows? Like, maybe they said something to Konstas to prompt him into chirping up. We don't know.
Well, and we have to remember, okay, let's get into it because we're here already. So basically, first day, Boxing Day, Konstas is rampant. He's, you know, they're chirping at him, they're trying to rattle him. You know, he's killing it. Kohli then shoulder charges him. Then basically the next test, the situation happens with Uzi. So Uzi is wasting time because, you know, the day's about to end. Bumrah is giving him lip. I saw it. I saw that situation as Konstas sticking up for Uzi. That's the way I interpreted it. But I don't know what was said. So maybe Konstas was just giving it to Bumrah. I don't know. So they get Uzi out. They charge Konstas. So he's a non-striker. And then later in the day, Andrew McDonald comes out and says he checked on Konstas' headspace to see if he was all good. He felt that it was quite intimidating. And the feeling I got from the Andrew McDonald press conference was he wasn't a fan of the way they charged in at Konstas. And basically, you know, he felt the ICC should do something about it. But that didn't happen. So Andrew McDonald said, that's the standard set, all good. Then the next day after the whole series was won, what's his name?
Good time, Gambia.
Gambia?
Yep.
The coach of the Indian side basically called Konstas soft. Now, to be extremely clear here, Konstas never said anything. He never said anything. He didn't whinge, he didn't complain. It was just the coach said, I checked in on him to make sure he was in the right headspace. So he called him soft and basically said as part of the game. But he also said, the Indian coach, he also said he had no right to speak to Bumrah. Now, looking at that last incident in a vacuum of they charged Konstas and Konstas was being lippy to Bumrah, so they charged him after they got his ear out. I tend to agree with like the fact that, look, it's cricket, it's international, there's tension. However, we have to remember the last test, he was literally shoulder charged by Kohli. So this isn't an isolated incident. Like they have got physical with him. So imagine this. Imagine they charge him and he starts thinking, I'm about to get shoulder charged again, and he pushes someone. All of a sudden, he's the bad guy. And so I'm a bit torn of like, so if you're Konstas, you're not just sitting there going, well, I got charged once. He got shoulder charged the last test. So I think it's a bit more complicated than he just got charged after the bowler of Usman getting out. He literally was physically, like, for example, let's say Kohli shoulder charged him. What if Konstas, I don't know, they wouldn't do it in cricket, but what if he punched him? I know you're laughing, but like in rugby league, in rugby league, if someone shouldered someone and there was a fight, who would you blame? The guy who shouldered the start of the fight. Again, I'm not saying, I know cricket's different. I think people need to put into context, they did get physical with Konstas. They literally, one of the greatest batsmen of all time, literally shoulder charged him only one test to go. Oh, it was one test to go or whatever. Thoughts on the whole situation?
Sorry, can I just clarify? When I say before, I don't think Bumrah should have chirped. I don't think Konstas should have chirped at Bumrah from the non-strikers end. I still stick with that. When Bumrah turned around after he got the wicket and celebrated, love that. The Indian team charging him, in my opinion, was completely disgraceful.
I think it's all very embarrassing on India's behalf for all those reasons, and no more so than it's a 19-year-old, it's a teenager you're going at. And you said the Kohli incident, going off his line to shoulder charge Konstas. And mate, it's just the whole context of the match. It was like a little kid and you're losing at sport, so you turn nasty. It's being a bad sport. Because in the Boxing Day morning when Konstas was all over them and had them rattled, Kohli does that to a teenager.
It's like outrageous.
It's like, it's embarrassing. And then the fact that the Gambia sort of saying, oh, you know, he's soft and it's on Konstas and he was chirping at Bumrah and shouldn't have done that. It's like, mate, both teams were chirping at each other the whole series. Konstas and Bumrah were chirping at each other and Kohli the whole time. It's like, and he's put it on the 19-year-old teenager. I was at that day when he got him out, and it's like they got Khawaja out, and then the whole team turns and goes at a teenager. It's like, because they're getting a you-know-what's handed to them. It's like, you didn't even get Konstas out, and you're turning to him. It's like, if you want to give someone a send-off, so be it. Do it to Uzi, because he's the one you got out, not Konstas. And to Konstas' credit, and I'm not saying he's been perfect in all of this by any means, but he sat there and he took it. He's like, well, you didn't get me out, but he didn't chirp back. He walked off and he said, no worries.
He copped it. He copped it sweet. He didn't say anything.
Fine. And I'm just like...
What are your thoughts, just quickly, take away the other 10 Indian players, what are your thoughts on Bumrah turning around to him?
I don't mind that.
I think that's play on.
Like, I don't mind, like it is a little bit like, bro, he's 19 years old, you're one of the greatest bowlers of all time. It's all like, however, I don't mind that because like they're back and forth a bit, but the whole team, very weird.
As far as I see it, he still didn't get out Konstas.
Yeah.
So what are you chirping about?
Kohli running around the pitch to get into Konstas' face after he literally had nothing to do with it, which is exactly what Colley's done all series, was pathetic, especially after he shouldered him in Boxing Day. He got fined 20%, which is completely pathetic and shows there's two rules for two different teams. It's as simple as that. India run the game. But that's it just is what it is.
If Paddy Cummins shouldered a 19-year-old on debut, I would be so embarrassed.
Yeah.
I would be so embarrassed. Like, I would be like, mate, are you kidding me? Anyway, so as I said, like, I would understand if it was just that one incident and they charged in or whatever. Even though I don't agree with it, I would understand was like, look, it is what it is. Competition gets its bubbles over. But within the context of the whole test, you've already got physical with Konstas. This isn't just a charge in and a bit of chirp. Like, you literally shouldered him, the young fella. Like, imagine Konstas. Like, I know he's been sweet. He hasn't said anything. He would have idolised Coley, I'm assuming. Like,
absolutely.
He would have idolised him. And yet, just because he's hitting runs and doing it in a flashy style, the guy that he would have idolised is now shoulder charging him. He would have been like... But, I got a lot of respect for Konstas in the sense that at least he never backed down. Even when Coley shoulder charged him, he still turned around and gave him a spray, which I love to see. I'm not saying that that Konstas is like, this is the perfect version of him and he won't mature and get more experience. But I love the fact that he never took a backward step. Does he go, is it too far sometimes? Is he putting a target on his back? Maybe. We'll see. He could turn out to be, let's say he goes out and he chirps everyone, but he hits them all over the park. No one's going to be complaining there. They're just going to be like, mate, he's a gun. He gets to do what he wants. So we'll see what happens.
But then it escalates more and you get the mimicking the sandpaper gate stuff when Steve Smith gets out, another legend of the game, like from Coley to Steve Smith of all people, especially when India weren't even involved in that series. But again, context of the game. We've got a small target, not many more to get. He knew his best bowler was gone. He knew they were basically done. They were going to give up the Border-Gavaskar trophy. They were going to miss out on a spot in the World Test Championships. Okay, so let's resort to those that kind of tomfoolery.
Yeah.
No, it's embarrassing.
Yeah, it's bizarre. I'll tell you what. We're going to do our new segment. It's Grumpy Bloke of the Week. And sometimes it'll be happy, sometimes it'll be grumpy, baby. This bloke, he needs to turn his frown upside down. It's not a happy one. Coley, he's our Grumpy Bloke of the Week. Coley is our Grumpy Bloke of the Week. And I tell you what, Big Daddy Boland. Oh, yeah. If there was one man that made Coley grumpy, it's Boland, baby. It's Boland. He had his number the whole series. And look, I don't know what he was looking for. Was he looking for runs in his pockets? Was he looking for form? Because he looked nervous. Big Daddy Boland was looking for his bum again.
He was looking for his cover drive from about 5 years ago.
But mate, let's talk about Scotty Boland. Is he across all sports one of the greatest reserves of all time? Like, and I say that not in a disrespectful way. I say that in like, he might be the greatest player ever to not be in the starting side. I understand like travel-wise, he doesn't have as good statistics, but like at home, he's one of the greatest reserves I've ever seen in my life.
One of the best examples of this is Stuart McGill, who pretty much in any other era would have been a mainstay Australian spinner. He still took 200 wickets, but because he was behind Shane Warne, he could never get a game except for the odd game here and there. And it's just like that. Boland's one of the best bowlers in the world, and he's not even in our starting team.
It is unbelievable. Like and also when he couldn't be more polar opposite from Konstas in regards to, you could go up to Boland and be like, Scotty Boland, you've cured cancer. And he would be like, oh, yeah, look, I know I did it, but it wasn't about me. Like, the boys, they were there, they were handing me the tools and like, they actually, it's whatever. Scotty Boland, you've saved, there's peace on the earth. It was all you. No. Like, yeah, I guess so, whatever. Like, he couldn't be more humbled if he tried. He is, I am such a fan of Scotty Boland. Build the man a statue. The great Howie said, mate, what a series from Boland. What a series.
Yeah, now figures of 4 for 32 against Virat Kohli, person in their head-to-head battle. A 13 average for the series, Scotty Boland. And it's so hard because he's stuck behind 3 quick bowlers. Then if we add in Nathan Lyon as the fourth part of that attack, 4 blokes who are going to go down as Australian great. And it's like, there's not really anything you could do to crack it. And another person that comes to mind when you mentioned Stuart McGill, but Darren Lehman, who averaged 57 at first class level across the Sheffield Shield. But he came up in that era of, Pontings, Wars, all these absolute, again, legends of the game, the hardest team to crack of all time. Lehman, Buff, another one that comes to mind. But Scotty Boland, what a reserve to have.
Mate.
And even if you tried to argue stats around, like when Hazelwood comes back, do they just stick with Boland or do they do? Like Hazelwood, the person who he came in for, said second best test bowler in the world on the ICC rankings.
And he made Team of the Year last year, didn't he?
Yeah. As you said, we own every bilateral trophy from series that we're in. We're the World Test Champions. It's like, unfortunately, he's just in a bad era.
Mate, Scotty Boland, and I just love his ability to bowl. Like, he's like a robot. Like, everything is the same with a bit of a different variation, So, like, I love the pressure that it seems that he pushes. Like, again, I know I'm new to cricket, but it feels like when you watch people bat against him, they're always like, every bowl, it feels like it's going to be an 8.5 out of 10. So if I'm not batting at an 8.5 out of 10 every single bowl, I'm getting to get out or something's going to happen. Whereas I feel like some of the other bowlers, you'll get like a lot of 9 out of 10s, but then you might get a 7 out of 10. I feel like Scotty Boland is like the perfect, like never less than an 8 out of 10 bowler. Is that a fair assessment? I don't know.
And that's the thing, Kempy. You look at our best bowlers all time, Glenn McGrath, and look at Pat Cummins, where they will just hit the same spot every single ball with, as you said, there's little variations, which Glenn McGrath was the master of. And cricket is all about just releasing pressure as a batsman. If you can get one away, it just takes a bit of pressure off. But if you have dot ball after dot ball after dot ball, it's like pressure builds up. You go, I've got to score. I've got to get, we've got to get runs flowing. And that Boland comes into this team and he does the same thing that Josh Hazelwood does, and that is hit the spot every single time.
So good. So brought to you by Grumpy Coffee, guys. Use code Boland because he made the great Coley very, very grumpy for 10% off. For 10% off your order. Beautiful coffee. I'm drinking it right now. Absolutely beautiful. Grumpy coffee. We've got multiple blends, guys. We've got every day. We've got very grumpy blend. We've got pods. We've got ground. We've got it all at grumpycoffee.com.au. Use code Boland for 10% off your order because he made Coley incredibly grumpy. And hopefully, Coley can find some of those runs. Hopefully he can find some runs.
Don't hold your breath, mate.
Yeah, because Big Daddy Boland, he's ready to spank him, smack that little bum again.
I think now's a good time as ever. Two-prong question here. Just say everyone's fit for the World Test Championship because it's a one-off. And casting my back to last year, we're in the same situation where everyone's like, Boland's got to be in the team, Hazelwood, he's done, blah, blah. Boland didn't really set the world alight in England. Hazelwood came in and killed it. It's a one-off in England. Everyone's fit. Do you pick Hazelwood or Boland?
Well, the way I look at it from a fully casual perspective is I almost feel like, look, if we're playing in Australia, I'm picking Boland. Overseas, I'm picking Hazelwood. Again, that might be a very reductive take, but I'm just looking at Boland at MCG and the SCG, like just his stats are unbelievable. But Hazelwood internationally, I'm assuming his stats are better. I'm not sure. What do you reckon, Timmy?
Mate, I am going with Josh Hazelwood every day of the week.
Even if it was in Australia?
Yep.
Okay.
I mean, let's look at Hazelwood's stats from this series before he got injured. He averaged 13.16. So Boland came in and he averaged 13.19. It's unbelievable. That is runs per wicket. Remarkable. Hazelwood did it better. It's like if you're going to drop anyone, and I wouldn't, it'd nearly be Mitchell Stark to get Boland in there.
Okay, fair enough.
There's not like I said, Hazelwood, number 2 in the world. Incredible. We own everything. We're the current World Test Championship holders. Like, unfortunately for Scotty Boland, you don't drop Josh Hazelwood from your team.
It's almost like the Cam Smith at 9 situation to a degree. Like, I know Hazelwood's not number 1 in the world, but like, okay, that's fair. I didn't know that he has even better stats even at home as well. So he probably would go.
The key difference though is that, and this is why it was going to be a 2-prong question. The Ashes next year, 5 tests in Australia. Is anyone really backing Hazelwood to play all those games? Like, do you pick Boland because he's more durable?
Prone?
Hazelwood is terribly injury prone at the moment, and that's the problem. Like, I don't know what the stats are, but he seems to be out every second test. And the only reason, like, Stark's never injured, Cummins is never injured. The only time we ever see Boland is when Hazelwood is injured. So I don't know. Like, I'm with you for the World Test Championship, Hazelwood for sure, but I'm not 100% sold on the Ashes. I don't trust Hazelwood to get through the series.
But like, obviously, Boland's here is that you're scared that come Ashes time, he gets injured mid-game or something and we need another bowler or something.
Exactly, yep.
Yeah, well, that's where hopefully all things going to plan. Either Bo Webster's thriving, he's bowling big overs. Not that it's going to be the same level as whoever, but you take injuries into consideration. But they do happen, but Bo Webster, if Cam Green's back, he can bowl a pretty decent allotment of overs. I think we can cover it. Hazelwood every day.
Hazelwood every day. Hazelwood. I mean, I didn't know. I would just assume that Boland had better stats at home, but I mean, how injury prone are we talking here though? Like,
I'll get some stats.
Because that's probably, in saying that, I don't know if you can go into a test going, oh, he might get injured, therefore I'm not going to play him. I think
his body's fit and he's good to go.
He's good to go. It's like it's almost like you're gambling to a degree. Then
I disagree because it didn't cost us, but it could have cost us in the last test when in the third test it was going to be, do we keep Boland, do we keep Hazelwood? I know it was a different injury, but Hazelwood got injured mid-test.
Yeah, the thing is though, we've got like, from an Indian perspective where they go, all right, Bumrah went down and they didn't have anyone else that could really rattle us too much. With Australia, if Hazelwood goes down, Cummins, Stark, Nathan Lyon can all bowl big overs.
Webster
over
even now to a degree?
Webster.
Cam Green will probably be back by then?
Who knows? Depends what happens. But they might end up going, depending what our top order does and runs-wise, they might have a Webster and a Cam Green if they're both in form and getting runs. We've got options to cover him if that does happen.
You forgot one bloke. You forgot one bloke.
Who'd I forget?
The great Travis Head.
He can bowl.
With the hot hand, baby. The hot finger. Have to cool it down, baby. Have to cool it down. So good. So good.
Got the wicket. I think it was Rishabh Pant, and they go after the game. What's your plan? What was your plan at tea for Rishabh Pant? And they go, bring me on.
Listen, I don't know when you're rehearsing if there was any rehearsal, and you're beside your mate doing this. I can't believe someone didn't say to him, "Hey, bro." The first thing I don't think of that being in a cup of ice. Let's just put it that way. If I'm doing this to my mate, I'm not thinking cup of ice. But hey, look, it works, baby. It works.
Don't challenge the great man.
It's so good because then he put up a thing on his Instagram with his
just to clarify.
finger. Just to clarify, baby. I got the hot finger. So in regards to some other big talking points, we've spoken about the shoulder charge. We've spoken about what else was out there. Oh, the pitch. Now, Gavaskar, I'm pretty sure. No, sorry. Was it Gavaskar that came out?
Yeah.
So Gavaskar came out and basically said, if you've got the quote here, right at the bottom. Sorry, 2 seconds. Okay. Gavaskar said, basically, this is not the ideal test match pitch that you want because you want it to go into a fourth or fifth day. Unless there is rain, I don't see us being here on day 4. When asked what would happen if it happened in India, he said all hell would have broken loose. There would have been all kinds of innuendos, all sorts of comments about, is this a good pitch? Over the years, have you ever heard a former Indian cricketer complain about conditions? They accept that's what playing overseas is all about, but 15 wickets in a day in India, man, there would be hell. Thoughts?
I mean, you never like to see a test finish in 2.5 days. It's not enough.
But I mean, the test before was 5 days.
Yeah. But that was different deck. They're saying specifically the Sydney Cricket Ground wicket.
But wouldn't there be decks in India that many wickets got taken before?
I don't have the results in front of me, but yeah, there'd be.
Wasn't the deck against New Zealand?
Yeah, that was crazy.
There was like 13 or 14 wickets.
I tend to not agree with Sonny Gavaskar in most situations, but this time I actually do. I'm definitely in the minority here. I like the bowling wickets. I don't care that the test doesn't go for 3 hours. I find it so exciting when there's low scoring tests. I know many people don't agree with me, and that's completely fine. But he is right. If that happened in India, people will be blowing up saying, "Oh, India, blah, blah, doing this, doing that." So he actually does have a point. But I had no issue with the deck.
But the thing is, I'm a bit on the fence because if he's insinuating doctor wickets, which as he alluded to happens all across the world, I'm like, we have a significantly better bowling attack across the board. So if we're going to doctor him, let's make him a bit dodgier for our bowlers just to go absolutely ham on.
If we were going to doctor the pitch,
wouldn't we doctor it for a draw and get the trophy back?
Exactly. We would give it. We'd make it a highway and take the trophy.
Don't we have an external team that does the pitches as well that has nothing to do with?
Probably on paper we do.
Every ground has their QAs and that. But yeah, if you're worried about doctoring it and they said we only needed a draw to win the series, make it flat as a tack and let's go 5 days. Well, there's always going to be a result on that.
Yeah.
And I'll throw another thing in terms of it not so much the doctored side of things, but being a 2.5-day test, let's face it for what it is. Like some of the batting at the moment, and I'm pretty big on this, that because I think T20 cricket has significantly impacted, I think it's well known, the ability for batsmen to dig in and play patient and for tests to go longer, because they're so, like we're seeing switch hits in test cricket, we're seeing reverse ramps. It's like these things are going to lead to quicker runs and more wickets. And you sit there and go, oh, the wicket wasn't good enough. The wicket was okay, on a little bit on the side of probably a bit too much in it for the bowlers and not enough batsmen, but look at the way Konstas gets out in the second innings. That's got nothing to do with the deck. You look at the way Marnus Labuschagne got out in the second innings in Sydney, like putting it straight down the throat of Gully, that cut shot as well. Same thing. Not a good shot. Didn't play it well. So it's got nothing to do with the deck.
Even Kohli, you could tell he was fuming when he edged that ball because he should have just left it.
He keeps getting out the exact same way. And it's like, I think a big part of it is that the batting isn't up to scratch, and certainly the Australian bowling attack and Bumrah in the first innings were superior to the batsmen.
Is there an argument to be made that because both, like you look at both teams, it was low scoring, that the pitch was just doing a lot?
It was doing a bit, and it was lively. And so with Sonny, it was probably a little bit too lively. They probably could have flattened it out a little bit for the batsman, but the batsman also can't make excuses for shit cricket shots.
I think also as well, just quickly, like if we wanted to doctor a pitch, wouldn't it be against our interest when they've got the best bowler in the world in Bumrah to have a spicy pitch?
That is a great point. Yeah, I guess our attack is better than theirs, but that is a good point.
They've got the best bowler in the world.
That's correct. You could argue anything. Like I would argue probably we've got 4 of the best bowlers in the world, whereas they have Bumrah. It's like, all right, they get 1, but our whole attack on a spicy pitch are going to do more damage. But mate, you could frame it whichever way you want the argument.
You're right. At the end of the day, if we're going to doctor it,
it'd be flat.
We should have made it flat. Like, yeah, if the wicket's not, if you don't like a spicy wicket, then that's fine. But we didn't doctor it to our favour. If we wanted to do that, we would have made it an absolute road.
You should be going, if they say, all right, spicy wicket, before the test, they go, cool, we're going to get a result. It won't be a draw, we're in this.
Just with Sydney, you never know what you're going to get with Sydney. Like Perth, Adelaide, Brisbane, it's always been the same. Melbourne used to be horrendous. It used to be such a road. Now Melbourne's probably the best deck in Australia, as we saw in the Boxing Day test. That was fantastic. Sydney, you never know what you're going to get.
It used to be one of the better spinning decks in Australian cricket. It hasn't been for, what would you say, 5, 6, 7 years now. Like, you look at it now, Nathan Lyon didn't bowl in the second innings. He took 1 wicket in 6 overs in the first innings. It changes a lot.
Just while we've got a break, in the last 32 games, so since Boland debuted, Cummins has played 32 tests, Stark's played 31, Hazelwood 16. So it's 2-1. So he's very injury prone.
Now, this is going to be this is way too early in my cricketing career to say this. And maybe it's a super obvious thing to say. But just watching Jaiswal as a batter and just the way he carries himself and his footwork and he's just, I don't know. I reckon he's going to be the best batter in the world in the next few years. He is special, in my opinion.
He's not far off it already.
Oh, really? Okay, well,
but it's I think it's his second year in Test cricket or something.
Mate, just the way he moves from an athletic position, like perspective, and his balance and his composure, he is special.
Has the second most runs in the calendar year, 1,478 at 54.74.
Okay, so I've said the dumbest thing. I've said the most obvious fucking thing in the world.
Not really. He's young.
Like, he's young. He's a rookie. It's like the runs are on the board, but it's been on it in a short period of time. He scored his 12th Test 50 in the calendar year, which is the second of all time for India. And this isn't taking the piss out of you. This is just emphasising how good this kid is. You go to the MCG Test, there was the run out, which, for the record, was Kohli's fault. And then
let's talk about that run out. Because, I'm of the mind, first of all, the shot he made, it was in his eye vision. So this is from a casual perspective. It was in his vision shot. So, as in the batter, the strike, he could see where the ball was going, but surely he makes the call most times. The batter does.
What you're taught from day dot, Kempy, is that if you're the batter on strike and you hit in front of square, which is square is basically in front of your body, it is your call because, generally speaking, you're running to the danger end.
Yeah.
Where it's going to the fielder. In this circumstance, it was at mid-off. So mid-off are going to peg it at the bowler's end stumps. You're putting yourself in danger. You think you can make the run, go for it. But if Kohli's doing what he does properly and he's backing up and he's not ball watching and stopped, he's running the non-danger and it's not on him. It should have been an easy single as soon as Jaiswal said, yep, go. Coley got caught ball watching, and
if Coley gets, let's say Coley immediately goes, and he gets out, then it's clear whose fault it is. It's obviously Jaiswal's fault because Coley didn't even start. Like he didn't even start to run. He was just standing there like this.
And when Coley heard the yes call, if he took off,
he would have made it.
He's making it, and plus they're throwing at Jaiswal's end anyway because it's 21 metres closer.
But it ended up going. They ended up missing because Jaiswal turned around and went back. They ended up missing the wicket, and the second attempt is what got the wicket.
Debacle.
So I just can't. There was a lot of people saying it was Jaiswal's fault. I just, as a casual viewer, I can't understand that for the life of me. Like, if Jaiswal calls the run and Coley doesn't make it, then it's very clearly Jaiswal's fault.
The only knock on Jaiswal, and maybe this is what people were defending Coley for, was that you're in a test match, it's a tight single, you don't need to put yourself under this much pressure, mate. We didn't need that single that bad. It's like, just relax. But from a standalone incident of taking a single, it was on Coley.
See, like, I get that in regards to, like, it's a test match, you got plenty of time, but, like, runs were hard to come by in that test match. So, like, maybe it was a little bit too desperate, but they would have made it. They would have made it.
It was his call. And Coley was rattled. Like, Coley was actually batting pretty well before that. And then he got out a few overs later because you could tell it was on his mind.
I personally, just from a casual perspective, I thought it was Coley. Look, if Coley, as I said, Coley, let's say you were going to sit here and say it was definitely Jaiswal's fault. Coley didn't even take off. Like, he wasn't even in a position to take off. He was leaning on his bat almost.
He's ball watching.
So anyway, but yeah, Jaiswal for me, from just a purely just watching the way his balance is and his athletic ability and his footwork, he's special, man.
Special, and sorry to go back to Konstas, but there are similarities between Konstas and Jaiswal as these two young opening bats. They're both flamboyant, but there's also a lot of technique about both of them, more so Jaiswal. He's got confidence about him. He's got a bit of character about him. He's a phenomenal batsman to watch, and yeah, he's going to be great.
Mate, just sometimes just watching, like, arguably the best bowling attack in the world, Australia, and watching, like, Jaiswal almost he just looked in control, whereas I felt like a lot of our batters, when Bumrah was bowling, we looked not in control. We looked like we were constantly playing defence, constantly on the back foot. I thought he's special.
I love watching him play. That 160 scored in Perth was phenomenal. He did not look like getting out before Coley barbecued him in was that Melbourne? Yeah, in Melbourne. Like, that was going to be another big 100. He was very, very unlucky when that controversy, which wasn't controversial because he was out. Like, he got another 80 then as well. He is the goods.
I will say, how anyone could say that he wasn't out is outrageous. If you ever wanted to know what bias is, like an example of what bias can like how strong bias is, how much it can literally make you think you are looking at something different, look at that incident.
I threw up a post of when it happened, and there was a lot of comments, like, obviously from an Aussie fan base saying, of course he hit it, you could see the deflection, like, dumb post and that. An Indian shared it on Instagram to their story with a poll, out or not out, and it was like 85% not out.
Yeah,
like it's just bias.
It's just bias. Like, if you wanted a real life example of, like, your eyes are seeing exactly what happens. Like, there is no denying it changed direction. You saw the hit, everything. That's an example of just bias, and we're all guilty of it. We all see it. It all happens to us when we're playing. Now, don't get me wrong. Some people are more biased than other people, or they allow bias to affect them more. But that was just crazy. Now, I want to talk about, brought to you by Bloke Undies, a bloke who grabbed life by the balls. A bloke that I'm going to call the nation's slug. He's big, he's angry, he's aggressive, probably veiny as well. It's Bo Webster, the nation's slug. He grabbed life by the balls. He was, again, when you look at the difference in debutant and how important experience is and knowing your game and calmness, how different was the feeling between him and Konstas? And then that's not in a negative way. Like, Konstas, he's his own person, he's a young fella, but how calm was Bo Webster? How much did he know his game out there? And this might be a stupid take, but I felt they really struggled with his height. I felt like his ability, because he was so tall, he had more time to kind of like defend their bowling. That might be stupid. That's just what I was looking at. And even his bowling, it looked a bit unorthodox to a degree. I thought he was outstanding.
Slug from Snug.
Mate, get your slugs out for Slug.
We need to send him some 5XL bloke undies, I reckon.
Oh, mate. Custom-made slug undies.
And it was just a show of, like, you can't buy experience.
Yeah.
Because he came and said how impressive but all over the shop Sam Konstas was, and there's question marks. He came in and looked like he'd been playing Test cricket for 10 years. He hadn't been playing Test cricket for 10 years, but he'd been playing domestic cricket in Australia for 10 years, and he just looked so unflustered by what you said. It was a spicy wicket. There was plenty of life in it for bowlers, pretty hard to bat on. He's come up from Belrive Oval as a Tassie boy. He played plenty of state cricket and all sorts of cricket on that, which they pull it open down in Tassie. They take the covers off and they get these green top wickets. There's heaps of life in them, and Bo Webster's gone, sweet. I've dealt with this before, as you've seen up in Sydney when other batsmen struggled. So composed in one of the biggest tests in Australian history, coming up against India with everything on the line, with bat and ball. Like with the ball, you think he only took the 1 wicket. If nothing else, he took his 1 wicket, could have had more, but just did what a fifth bowler needs to do, and that is tie up an end, build pressure, not let too many runs, and give your strike bowlers time to have a rest and then rejuvenate and come back on. They're the ones who take the wickets. If your fifth or sixth bowler can take a few along the way, happy days, but if nothing else, just tie up an end. Bo Webster, he looked right at home.
Mate, he went, when the game was on the line to win the series, he went 39 from 33 balls. In his first innings or whatever, I think he was 48 or something.
No, he got 50, 57.
50. Yeah, 50. Sorry, yeah, raised about 50. Like, so you're looking at an average of, what, 45?
You know, because he only got out once.
Not out doesn't count.
Oh, not out, yeah.
He's only got the second highest.
Yeah, his average is 96 of them.
He's almost got the Don cover.
Just comparing Konstas and Webster. And I, as we said before, I loved everything about Konstas. But I don't know about you guys, but in that Melbourne 60, I thought he was going to get out every ball. That's why I was so nervous with Konstas.
Yeah.
I felt so safe and secure with Webster, even like in the cordon, in the slips cordon, like. He's catching into those huge bucket-like hands.
Oh, buckets. They call him buckets.
Yeah,
I tell you what, any man that gets the name buckets, mate, you're a warrior in your past life. You're walking around with bucket hands. Oh my God!
Man, we got some. I know it's a while away, but we got some positive headaches when Cameron Green comes back.
Mate, I want to get his test levels checked. He must have a lot of testosterone, Slug. A lot of testosterone.
I love how he rolls around the earring as well.
Yeah, I love that. With Bowie Webster as well, as like. Is there something to that tallness thing? Because I don't know why. I just felt like his tallness, they were struggling with it. He could almost like had more time when the bounce was coming to him to, I don't know. Is that something with batters? If you're physically taller, it's harder to do anything, or am I just fucking looking at things?
I'm not going to lie.
You can say no.
I'm not going to lie. I don't know. I don't know the scientific mechanics.
Bowling 100%.
Yeah, bowling,
steep, tall bounce. You get extra bounce as a tall fella. Batting.
Don't know. Yeah,
I genuinely don't know.
Me, but yeah, Bo Webster, it just shows you that experience, and it's a tough question now. You know, does Cam Green come in? Does Bo? And what I liked about when I saw him get selected, I was like, he's probably going to be stronger at either bowling or batting, but you could argue he was equally as strong in both.
He was fantastic,
even with his bowling
and fielding.
Yeah, and fielding was great as well. And so like. Cam Green, does he come back in? What happens there?
Form will tell the story. Bo Webster will be our all-rounder for the Sri Lanka test. He'll come back from that, and barring selection in the Champions Trophy squad, which he may, I'm like, don't worry about it. I want you to go back and play Sheffield Shield after the Sri Lankan series and get a few games in there. If he gets runs and bowls well and does all that in Sri Lanka, I think you pick him. I don't know when. Do we know when Cam Green's due back? It'll be
mid-year,
obviously.
Yeah,
but not for Sri Lanka. So I think you just go. The spot is yours for now until Green comes back. If you state your case with runs, wickets in Sri Lanka and Shield, and you just don't give us a reason to drop you.
Yeah.
I think you keep him. There is a world, depending on what we need, that you can play both of them. Like if we go to Sri Lanka and a few boys might go back to Shield, whatever it might be, and our top order doesn't get runs, there's a few options to change things around to have Webster and Cam Green if they're getting runs, but that's probably looking too far ahead. For now, Bo Webster, it's him.
It's him,
but it's a small sample size.
Okay, so that's Bo Webster. He grabbed life by the balls. The nation's slug, big, angry, and veiny. Grab some bloke undies from bloke.shop. Super, super comfortable. If you've got a mate that has purchased them, trust me, message them, ask them how comfortable they were. These are premium undies. Like, you cannot get much better than these guys. They're at bloke.shop. They're absolutely outstanding. Get them in little packages. There you go. And Bo Webster, he grabbed life by the balls, baby. The nation's slug, veiny, angry, big, aggressive and thick. That's what they call him. And they say on January 5th is the day of the slug. To observe a minimum of respect, you get your slug out for slug. 1 minute only. Can be done in private. Don't do it in public. That's weird. Do it in private. What about the characters we brought in as well? Like, you got Konstas, who is such a character. Bo Webster, he's a bit of a character too. You can tell he's one of the boys. He's got his earring in. Keep the earring in, baby. I know there were some people who were like, get the earring out. No, keep it in. Keep it in.
And then you've just got the mild-mannered Scotty Boland just to keep them all into line, to make sure they don't get too over the top.
Yeah, he is so even keel and humble. It's actually crazy. Scotty, you've cured cancer. You've saved the world. Wasn't me, baby. Wasn't me. Okay, anything else coming in? Okay, so heading into... let's talk about Paddy Cummins' legacy right now. Let's talk about Paddy Cummins. Like, he's in this unique position where... Look, I get it. Like, you know, the whole politicised nature of his captaincy of Australia. The added pressure of that and all the questions around Paddy Cummins. Like, heading into this series and nearly every series, even though what they've achieved, some people, not everyone, they get this soft. They're soft. They're too nice. You know, they're this new age this, new age that. But at the end of the day, Paddy Cummins now has every single bilateral trophy, Test champions, world champ, like essentially everything. He has, in my opinion, as a casual observer of cricket, I don't know as much as everyone else, I think he's carved his own legacy. Is this squad the greatest ever Australian squad? No, I don't think so. But I think they absolutely can stand with their shoulders back, head high, and say, we've carved our own legacy after the darkest days in cricket, which was what, about 10 years ago?
2018.
2018, so less than that. And I understand who was the initial captain that pulled him out of that?
Tim Payne. But he was our wartime captain. Like, we needed him at the time.
He pulls us out of it, gets passed on to Paddy Cummins. Paddy Cummins has the whole Langer situation, everything goes down. And now we're sitting here with every trophy we can essentially have. What more can you ask of this guy? What more? He wouldn't have been made the selection call, but I'm sure the selectors would have asked him his opinion on bringing in some of these young guys for this test. What more can Paddy Cummins do? Not much. It's an incredible achievement, and I think he's carved his own legacy. And I think the squad has carved their own legacy, and they should hold their head high. It's absolutely incredible, in my opinion.
Yeah. Everything he touches turns to gold, doesn't it? Like, you add in the fact that you mentioned all the trophies, the ODI world champions as well. And
in India, which is just...
In India.
Let's not gloss over that. That is one of the most remarkable feats in cricket.
Beating India
in the final.
And to add to make this even more incredible, he lost his mother only a few years ago. One of the hardest periods of his life, he has captained the nation to victories in nearly everything that he's done. It is nothing short of incredible.
And then even just on top of it, there aren't many test captains or international captains that are bowlers either.
Yeah.
They're nearly always batters. And he comes in and to do what he has done, and not just outstanding leadership, but he's averaging, 22.43 with the ball, one of the best bowling averages in Australian cricket history.
I think he's currently the third overall all-rounder right now as well.
And then he's also a phenomenal batsman, like the 240s in the MCG test to get us home there as well.
He never scores just cheap runs. He always scores runs when we really, really need him to.
Yeah.
So
even that wicket, was it yesterday that he took? Was it Pant that was smacking us around the park? So Pant in the last innings played silliest shot you've ever seen in your life. And you go on, mate, what's doing? Comes out and started absolutely smacking us around the park. I think, what was it, like 50 off like 25 balls or something?
Yeah.
It was something crazy. And then Paddy Cummins comes in, I'm pretty sure it was Paddy Cummins that took that wicket. Pretty sure.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, it was.
I got him caught behind.
Crucial wicket.
He gets wickets at important times more than anyone I've seen since like Glenn McGrath,
and
Shane Warne.
runs as well. Like, it's what's crazy about Paddy Cummins, you could select him as an all-rounder, and yet he's one of the best bowlers in the world.
Good.
It's crazy.
Yeah. That Rishabh Pant innings yesterday, I was like, you could just see our lives crumbling before our eyes going, what is happening right now?
And it was like very Travis Head-esque, where like it's rocks or diamonds. Like, he can come out and smack you around the park.
Could be wrong with this, but I think Matty's second fastest Test 50 of all time behind Rishabh Pant. I think he was only behind himself.
Yeah, he almost broke his own record
Yeah.
for an Indian cricketer.
For an Indian cricketer.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
you could feel like the stadium just go, going, oh my God, we're about to get smacked for 100 here.
Yeah.
And then Paddy Cummins, boom, nails him.
Like Pant has done it to us before. He did it to us at the Gabba 3 or 4 years ago. So
And so like it's almost, Head's a relatively similar example, isn't it? The way he kind of bats, similar order as well.
Yes, middle order. Pant's a wicket keeper.
Okay.
But Head, as
Batting
a
wise,
batsman,
though?
very aggressive batsman. But like what Pant did yesterday, that was absurd.
That was wild. And so like the whole, and I understand that your top order is going to be different to your middle, but I think there's a world where you don't have to be consistently hitting 50s. Like you can be like a Head that can come out and hit 100 and then the next day he comes out and gets out for 4 or 5. You know what I mean? Like there is different ways to be a really good batsman.
Times have changed since the early 2000s when the whole Australian batting lineup would average 50 plus. It's like, that's just dead and gone. It just doesn't happen these days. Like if you can average early 40s, it's kind of like, oh, we'll take that at the moment.
Yep. So yeah, Pant when he was doing that, and so Cummins getting in. But yeah, back to Paddy Cummins. Like, where does this legacy rate with this squad? You could argue. I think the early 2000s is probably our prime time.
yeah, that was the gold. We've had a couple of golden eras, like the Steve Watt era, like around 2000, then Ricky Ponting when he led us in 2005, 2006, plus all the ones before that predates me. But
when I look at Paddy Cummins, like in this current era, from a casual perspective, obviously he's not at the top, but I feel like this squad and him can hold their head high and say, technically they're not equal to the generations before. However, they belong in the same room as them. You know what I mean? Is that a fair statement?
Yeah, it's like, I would argue it's a great question. Well, some people think it's a great question, but comparing like that Ponting team of the mid-2000s or the Steve Waugh team that was littered with Langer, Hayden, Gilchrist, Warren, McGrath, all that, I'm like, I think, I'm keen to get Matty's thoughts, but I think that team would spank the current day team. Mainly because of the batting lineup. Like, I think that bowling generation of Warren, McGrath, and that would just absolutely rattle through the current batsmen. Our bowling lineup now is unbelievable. And statistically speaking, particularly bad, as I said, our current batting lineup doesn't get anywhere near that. But Test cricket has changed. And I said, because of T20 cricket and the flamboyance of it, you don't necessarily have to be an early to mid-50s averaging player to be one of the best of all, to be the best in the game at the moment. You can be mid-40s or early 40s and you kind of get away with it. The game's changed, but what the team has done now, you just look at accolades, what we've done.
It's like relatively
We've rattled through
yeah.
them, and they've won where potentially if we can beat South Africa in the World Test Championship final, the best Test team for a minimum of 4 years, coming through a dark period, ODI World Cup, all the bilateral series. There's not much more we can do in terms of winning games of cricket.
Yeah, and so like my kind of analogy is like, the darker eras, those teams probably you wouldn't put them on the even same room as the legend sides. Whereas I feel like this squad, if those squads before would kind of look at them as not equals, I understand they're better, but they've earned their own right to go, what, you're your own thing, you've done an incredible job.
The other big one there is we retained the Ashes over in England a year or two ago. So we've held that as well. That's the big one. Like the Ponting era, again, was coming up against, in my opinion, a significantly better English team. But, we got done over there. We didn't necessarily always hold the Ashes there. We've got that as well.
Yeah. And so, as I said, I think that, it's probably fair to say that they wouldn't be, they're definitely not at the best Australian squad ever. However, I feel like they've earned their own right, that they've got their own legacy now that they've cemented. Whereas, there's probably a few years where there's no real legacy cemented. From 2012 to or whenever,
Yeah.
Is that a fair statement?
Yeah. Basically post Michael Clark, or even the back end of Michael Clark. I don't have the exact results in front of me, but Clark was a very successful Australian captain. I don't believe as good as Ponting, but then there was a darker period for us by our standards. But the Cummins coming out of it, following on successing from Tim Payne.
Would you have him about 3 or 4?
As Test captain.
Just as his squad and captain, 3rd or 4th?
I find it hard to put a number on it because, especially with Ponting, he led us to 16 Test wins in a row. He led us to World Cups, but he also, when everyone left, got a great Test series win in South Africa. We're gonna have to wait to the end of Cummins' career
because Cummins is still only 31.
He's got plenty of time.
Plenty of time.
Although he's pace bowler, but
purely on results though.
What more can he do?
Yeah, correct.
What more could he do?
He's beaten everyone in front of him, and sure, we could win the Ashes over in England, sure. We could win a Border-Gavaskar trophy in India, although that's only been done once. So, like, sure, there are things he could do, but at the moment, he's doing everything right.
It's incredible. It's incredible. And as I said, he copped a lot of flack for the whole resting before, that first game. But it was right. It was right. And, a lot of people were very negative towards him with that. A lot of people were very negative towards selectors heading into this series, but they got the job done. They got the job done. So how can you look at that and not say that they were wrong? They were right. It's just incredible to watch. And they seem like they really, when you see them in pictures and that together as well, like in video of them, all that, geez, they seem close as a squad now. Like that, it seems like their culture that they've built there over a few years now is just a bloody good culture in that setup. So, can't wait to see what happens in the future. Going forward with Sri Lanka, we'll end it on a bit of a negative note. What's going to happen with Marnus and Usman? What do you reckon is going on there? Do you reckon Marnus did enough with that? Was it 60 or 70 runs that he got?
70. He got 2 70s in Melbourne, yeah.
So, Usman and Marnus, where are we at with them, you reckon? Because it's hard, because Usman, I was really disappointed that he got out in that last bowl, but then he comes out and gets a crucial 40 for us.
Really crucial 40 on a really tough deck. He had moments. He's hanging by a thread, but I'm also like, all right, who's knocking the door down to come in? Like, you'd be maybe bringing in Nathan McSweeney again, or you'd be looking at changing your batting order and promoting someone up the order, which I don't love the idea of doing either, especially when you've got a team that's just won a key series. So I think they play Sri Lanka. I think you reassess after that. And the fact is, even though there's I don't believe red ball cricket between then and the World Test Championships, there's still it'll be a period of 4 or 5 months or something that you can make these decisions and see what form players are coming in with, see how Cam Green returns. But I think even the Sri Lankan series then reassess.
I don't think the Sri Lankan series is going to be the world's biggest indicator. I think they're going to change the team to suit the conditions, and then our eyes are on the World Test Championship, and mostly our eyes are on the Ashes. The Sri Lankan series is going to happen. Like, Cummins isn't even going to play, and I know he's having a kid, but the team's going to be very, very different in Sri Lanka.
Steve Smith will be captain, and he'll get his 10,000 runs.
He'll get his 10,000 runs in Sri Lanka. Like, the conditions are totally different. We've got an eye on the Ashes and an eye on the World Test Championship. I don't think it's going to be the hugest indicator.
Yeah, I just wonder, like, are they eyeing this with an opportunity to get these players back into form, or are they going, let's tinker and try some things, which I don't think they will because of the World Test Championship final. If we didn't make the World Test Championship final, it's different. They would tinker and they would try a bunch of different things. But
is it a bit risky, though, waiting, like, not getting as many runs into Marnus and Uzi as possible to get them back into form, if you know what I mean? Even though they did actually go pretty well, but, like, when's the World Test? How far away is that?
Mid-year.
July?
Yeah, June, July.
Might be June.
So, like, is it a bit of a long stretch in between them playing to make sure that they're in good form heading into that?
They'll still be playing cricket, though.
Yeah.
I haven't looked deeply into it. I don't know when the county season starts in England. That's all the English domestic stuff. And if they could go over there and get a few county clashes in, which is red ball cricket, long form, that'd be ideal. I don't know when the season starts. I need to have a look into it.
Yeah,
but the point is, there's plenty of cricket, but the lead in from the summer there, I was going to say, is the IPL, Indian Premier League, in sort of the county season, the World Test Championship, but Uzi and Marnus won't be involved anyway. So there's opportunities, but as much red ball cricket as possible, whether that's Shield, county.
My answer to that question would be, I think Marnus did enough in Melbourne. I thought that second innings, I know in hindsight, it probably got lost a little bit in how good the game was. I thought that second innings from Marnus was outstanding. He had a poor series, but he had a couple of good knocks. I would be sticking with them for the distant future.
Here you go. The World Test Championships is 11th to the 15th of June. The English county season starts in April. I'd be saying Uzi, Marnus, go play a handful of games there in the conditions, which they've both done before. What a great preparation for a clash in England.
Yeah, because I guess the alternative is you're rolling out 2 teenagers, or at least you got Konstas. McSweeney would probably come in. He's like, 20?
He's a bit old. I think he's 26 or 7.
Okay, McSweeney's a bit older.
Oh, he might not be that old.
But he's not even an opener. Like, I reckon if McSweeney comes back, he'll be in the middle order. I think Konstas with Uzi
25.
there with the experienced head, I think we talked about balance earlier in favour of Konstas bring out the best of Uzi? Well, I think the experience of Uzi and Marnus and all that will bring the best out of Konstas as well.
And the other factor is they've both played lots of cricket in England where the conditions with a big swinging juke ball, it's so different. Everything about it. So it's like experience will be very telling.
And experience matters too, because although, Uzi did get out for that last ball, again, the day we needed him to get 40, he stood up and did it. He stood up and did it. So, yeah, I mean, what an incredible test. Anything else on that test, boys, that you kind of gone through it all?
Pretty well. Not bad, mate.
Yeah, incredible. Don't forget, guys. No, don't forget, but who had a good day? Australia had a good day. Use code DMP for 10% off. Combine that with the subscription for 20% off. Go to begoodhealth.com.au. I've had my good day today. It's, trust me, guys, once you take it each day, it builds up, and just your mood and everything else, you're just much more settled. It's not so up and down. It's really good multivitamin. Tastes nice, super convenient. Go to begoodhealth.com.au, use code DMP for 10% off, or combine that with subscription for 20% off. Quick question before we move on. Bumrah, was it the best bowling performance you've ever seen?
Yeah, like in Australia?
Just
like full stop?
Full stop.
Geez, that's a big pressure on the spot.
I'll jump in. No, because I think Mitchell Johnson he tore them apart. While Bumrah did tear us apart, and I know Mitchell Johnson did have Ryan Harris and Peter Siddle to help him, so it's not really fair. I'll have Bumrah second as a visiting bowler. The ones I can think of at the top of my head: Jimmy Anderson 2010. We had Stain and Philander just absolutely tear us apart at different stages.
In 08, top 10 for the MCG.
Oh, ridiculous. But I think as a visiting bowler is the best I've seen. I did have a look yesterday at some stats. I know stats don't tell the whole story, but the West Indies, when they came here in the 80s, just tore us apart. But obviously none of us were here for that, so we don't count that. For me, it's the best performance I've seen from a visiting bowler.
What do you average, 13 or something?
13.
Yeah, I mean, hard to argue.
32 wickets.
Very hard to argue.
And he didn't play the last innings. Innings and a half.
Best from a tourist in Australia.
Okay.
Yeah.
Name Bumrah.
Name Bumrah.
Alrighty, now it's time. I'm not sure if you know this, but we're actually an NRL podcast, rugby league podcast. We're a sports podcast, but mainly rugby league. But before we get into rugby league, sorry to honey dick ya, but Jai Opetaia fight, David Nyika. It's going to be an absolute barn burner. You do not want to miss it. Wednesday on DAZN. It's going to be because look, Opetaia is way further along in his career. Way further. He's the best in the world in his weight division. But Nyika has A, sparred a lot of rounds with him. B, super talented. Also Olympic medalist, Commonwealth Games gold medalist. So he's very talented. And so although, in my opinion, I think Jai wins quite convincingly. It could be one of those moments because they have sparred so much together. You just never know because a guy like David Nyika, he is super rangy and quite, so he'll be able to box quite a lot. He'll be able to use his range. And the ironic thing is Jai Opetaia's boxing skill set is unbelievable. He's not just a brawler, he's an actual boxer as well. Look, yes, I believe it's probably a little bit too early for Nyika. However, you just never know with these things. It's Kiwi versus Aussie. It's one of those. It could be one of those things where just magic happens. The build-up's been incredible. Some of the chat back and forth has been incredible. I cannot wait for it. And guys, as I said, you don't want to miss these fights. A guy like Opetaia, who is currently the best in the world in his division, you only get so many times to watch this guy fight while he's in his prime. He's 29 years old. This is the fight you want to see. This is the fight you want to see. Me personally, I think Jai wins by knockout or TKO. I think initially, a lot of Nyika has been talking about, he's got the ability to knock Opetaia out. He's got the ability to finish him. I disagree. Obviously he has the ability. Everyone, it's one punch. Anything can change. However, Nyika has been talking about, it being a war and a slugfest. I don't think that's going to happen. I think Nyika is going to try to box on the outside with Jai. I think Jai's aware of that. I think in the early rounds, you might see a little bit success of Nyika because of that range and that ability to, he'll almost be not fighting defensively, but he won't be fighting to look for that knockout blow. But eventually, I think Opetaia just overwhelms him. I'm not sure whether Nyika has the power initially to worry Jai. Now, a bit, like, he could fatigue in the later rounds, and then Nyika could maybe have some power to bother him. But I think initially, I'm not sure whether that's a power to worry him. I think Opetaia gets the job done via knockout. But guys, you don't want to miss this. And also, the card is stacked. You got Hooney. I think it's you got plenty of other gun fighters, guys. Go to the zone. Make sure to watch this fight. And also another fight coming up. It's Sammy Goodman over in Japan against the monster Inoue. That is coming up late January. Another fight you don't want to miss, guys. These are boxers. They don't have as big a profile as other boxers in Australia, but they are fighting. Like, Inoue, a lot of people think Inoue is the pound for pound best boxer in the world right now. And Goodman is going over to fight there. It is truly David versus Goliath stuff. If he goes over there and sets an upset in Japan, it'll be one of the greatest achievements we've ever seen. It'll be absolutely incredible. So that's later in January, but earlier, Wednesday, trust me, you don't want to miss it. It's on DAZN. Opetaia, if you get an opportunity, go back and watch Opetaia versus Braidis 1. So this was for the World Championship, for the belts. Braidis is a guy that lost a split decision to Usyk. Now, go back and watch this fight. It is one of the greatest sporting moments I've ever witnessed in my life. And why do I say that? Jai Opetaia broke his jaw in like round 2 or 3, fought the whole fight, beating Braidis, broke his jaw again in the later rounds. And then he went to a doctor after and said, like, what do we do? First of all, so Jai Opetaia, this is how incredible this moment is. He beats Braidis. He wins the belts. They go to interview him after the fight. He can't talk because his jaw is snapped on both sides and he's literally hanging in his skin. The doctor said he's never seen anything like it with the jaw just hanging because it's been broken on both sides. That's the kind of man we're dealing with when we're talking about Opetaia. It is, you don't want to miss these fights, guys. If you get a chance, go and watch that fight. It is nothing short of amazing. And even the second fight, late in the fight, I'm pretty sure a headbutt from Braidis, I don't know whether it was, I'm pretty sure it was an accident, but headbutt from Braidis breaks Jai's nose and he still gets the victory. Go back and watch these fights. Do not miss Opetaia versus Nyika because it's one of two things. You're seeing Australia's current best boxer fight and dominate, or you're seeing one of the great upsets in Australian boxing in Nyika beating Opetaia. Either way, you're getting something special. It's not going 12 rounds, in my opinion. It's going to be a barn burner. We've also got some of the best other Australian boxers on the card. That is on Wednesday. You don't want to miss it. Okay, let's get into the NRL news. Brought to you by Bloke. 50% off everything sale, January 20th at 6 p.m. Not next Monday, the Monday after. 50% off everything on Bloke. The undies, the hoodies, everything that we got on there. These shirts, everything we got. 50% off everything. It's only for a short period. And 25% off everything Grumpy as well. It's the biggest sale we have ever done. We do not do these, guys. You know that we don't do sales. 50% off everything Bloke, 25% off everything Grumpy. Do not miss it. January 20th, 6 p.m. Let's get into it.
It's a barn burner of a sale,
mate. We've never done anything like it. It's a barn burner, baby. Barn burner fight, barn burner sale. Jan 20, 6 p.m. You don't want to miss it. We never do these sales. On to Leo Thompson. Informed the Knights he would not be re-signing with them. Reports then emerged that he would sign with the Raiders. Then the Roosters emerged as a dark horse. In the last few days, it was confirmed by the Bulldogs he signed a 4-year deal. This will, ironically, it was reported they had withdrawn their interest in December, but the deal gets done. 4-year deal, starts in 2026. What a signing. Now, I will say, I'm still not 100% certain Leo Thompson will go on to be what we think he can be. However, if he does reach his potential, this is going to be a game-changer signing for the Bulldogs. I love it. It's a perfect signing. Now, is he the biggest body? Not necessarily, but he's more of an out-and-out front rower than they've currently got. And he's almost like the perfect version of a front rower that they would want, because they don't want it. They clearly don't want a front rower that's absolutely massive. They want a guy that's big but still mobile, like Thompson. I love this signing for the Bulldogs. I think it's exactly what they've needed. If they got him for apparently he actually signed for less than what he could have got elsewhere. Brilliant signing for the Bulldogs, in my opinion. What do you reckon?
Perfect sign, just a perfect fit, the Bulldogs, for the reasons that you mentioned. I rate Leo Thompson as a footballer. I'm not as high on him as probably you, and definitely not Guru.
Guru's the highest. I'm not as high on him as Guru is yet.
Guru's going to name his firstborn Leo.
Thompson.
I guarantee
so.
it.
Guarantee.
He loves the bloke.
Yeah.
But he said the doggies, we've said for, certainly last year when they made the great run to the finals, that they're just maybe missing a bigger body come finals time. How far can this go against the best teams in the competition? And I love what they've done with that mobile forward pack, the Doggies, and sort of reinvented, the shape of the pack a little bit last year with success. Leo Thompson is a bigger body and a bigger bodied middle for them without being a behemoth. I think he's a really great fit. Don't know what it's cost them, but I reckon he slots in there nicely. I don't think.
What's the report? Can you get the reported figure, please?
I think because they've got so many smaller mobile forwards, they can play big minutes. He averaged 49 minutes per game, I think it was, at the Knights last season. Yeah, 49, 47 the year before. I don't think you need that many minutes out of him. Drop it to early 40s, sort of 40 minutes. That's plenty. And
get him hyper-aggressive.
Let him be an enforcer and let him be aggressive. Like, you've got big minute forwards in the team already. So I honestly don't think there's probably a better fit for Leo Thompson in terms of what the Dogs needed. And Leo Thompson can go there and be a leader in that side.
Yeah, I love that because you're exactly right. They've got big minute forwards. And so, first of all, the 4-year deal makes sense then because you're like, okay, we're going to get a longevity about him because we're not going to make him play 70 minutes a week. So he's not going to be banged up. He's going to be able to, get his 30, 40 minutes a game. And also, you look at a guy like a Moses Leota, who's probably a bit bigger than Leo, but like similar-ish kind of player, and Fisher Harris. They play usually around 40 minutes. Like, they come on, they go absolutely crazy for 20 minutes. They get taken off 20, 30 minutes, around there. Then they get put back on when needed. And so they play around the 40, 50 minute mark. And so that's where I feel like Leo Thompson can be used. And you'd have to assume that Ciraldo was a part of that planning with Leota and Fisher Harris. Obviously, Ivan Cleary is the main man, but you have to assume Ciraldo is looking at Leo Thompson and hoping to replicate what Fish and Leota did with the Bulldogs. Yeah. You'd have to assume that.
Yeah, and even talking about why I think they're such a good fit for the Bulldogs, I said that, but you mentioned the Raiders. I don't know if they missed out on him or didn't want him, or I don't know how it unfolded, but I didn't want him at the Raiders, not because I didn't want Leo Thompson. Of course, he'd be a good signing.
I'm beyond. Makes no sense to me, the Raiders situation.
Well, just before you go on, apparently he was offered 900 at the Raiders, and he's getting 825 at the Dogs, and Knights were going to offer him around the same as the Dogs.
The Raiders, unless we're about to lose 2 good middle forwards that I don't know about, maybe we are. Firstly, there's no way I'm giving him 900k. I think that's ridiculous. But I have faith in the current crop of forwards we've got. I have faith in the rookie forwards we have coming through. Adam Mariota, Trey Mooney, the younger blokes. We have so many options there. We don't need another big money forward.
Mate,
we've got them.
It blows my mind how you can offer, reportedly, maybe it's not true, reportedly you're offering a front rower 900k that still hasn't hit his potential, but you knock back Reece Robson for around the same amount of money? If that's true, have you heard anything about that?
Who said 900? He can't. Surely they didn't offer him 900.
That's what I'm reading this on Fox and Daily Telegraph. So it's all rumours, but this is what they're saying.
Jeez.
Look, I know I always say it, but new salary cap, blah, 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 the joke. But it's just a fact. It's true. That's what it doesn't make sense to me. You don't desperately need a front rower, and yet you desperately need a number 9. And I know Guru's really high on the young fella coming through, but he hasn't played first grade. We're talking about New South Wales Blues hooker.
Desperately need a 9. We've spoken at nauseam about Robson, but we need him. He would have been so good, but maybe an outside back or something.
Yeah,
we're flushed with, albeit rookie, but fullbacks and halves. We're good there. We're building towards the future, but an outside back, definitely a number 9. We didn't need him, so I think the Doggies is perfect.
And that's what I don't understand with the recruitment, style of the Raiders is reportedly you're knocking back Reece Robson, who is the current New South Wales hooker, and you're going after Leo Thompson, who you don't need a front rower, and also so you've got the money in the cap. The money's there. Again, I apologise if it's not true. They didn't knock back Reece Robson.
There's got to be more to it.
There has to be, because it doesn't make sense.
They can't have been sitting there, the Raiders recruitment team, and gone,
surely not.
All right, do we offer Leo 900 or Reece Robson 900? Let's get another middle forward and stick with, we've lost a few hookers recently, but Starlo or whoever it might be.
Doesn't make sense.
Danny Levi, yeah.
It doesn't. You're right. There has to be more to it.
Got to be.
Because it just does not compute. I totally get that they've got good young fellas coming through, but your current New South Wales hooker. You're
And-
basically saying
and it's
that
like-
we know our young hooker is going to become the Origin hooker.
And it's like if that young player coming through is like a Talon Silva who has NRL experience and is building into it, or a Blake Moser, I'm like, they're getting there. We've seen them NRL level. They've looked good. I'm like, okay, they're putting faith there. But if that's the case around the number 9s, they're doing it with a player who hasn't played NRL yet. I think he's 18 or 19 or something.
Yeah.
Not a lot about him.
And it's just, you just don't know. Like, he could be the best rookie ever to come through, but you just don't know what's going to happen. And also, like, who's to say in that third year of the contract, when he's 21, 22 years old, you aren't sharing time with Reeves Robson and you put Robson at 13 for a few minutes or whatever it is. Like, very strange. I agree with you, mate. Like, if I had to say, like, what happened there, I feel like there has to be more to the story.
We're missing something.
Yeah, we're missing some, because it just doesn't make sense that you would go after Leo Thompson with a huge week, which is, I wouldn't pay $900 for him. However, I get it. That's front rowers are very hard to come by, genuine out and out top tier ones. Leo Thompson's potential is there. He's not a top tier front rower yet. But then not go after Reece Robson, that doesn't make any sense. There has to be more to it. But just back to the Bulldogs, I absolutely love the signing. And I really do believe Serraldo is probably trying to build a similar forward pack to what we're looking at the Penrith Panthers. You've got Leota and Fish that come on, dominate, enforcers, literally never take a backward step. I'm assuming he's going to try to, like, imagine him, like, if it is true that this Bulldogs, because I think they got voted, like, on the Rugby League Players Association, what was
Poll,
it?
the player poll.
Player poll or whatever, from their playing group, they had the most people saying they are very happy with that coaching staff. So, for example, they went out and they asked each playing group, rate your coaching staff anonymously, rate your, welfare officer, rate your club. So they got each squad to rate their own team and club, and no one knew who they were voting for. And Bulldogs came out on top when it came to coaching staff. So if it is true that Bulldogs coaching staff is just like next level, I imagine Leo Thompson in that system right now, how much better he's going to be. Because him at his best, he can become one of the better front rowers. I don't know if he can become the best, but I think he can definitely become one of the better front rowers in a really good system.
Definitely can.
Yeah.
We know the potential. I said I'm still not entirely convinced we're going to see it. I see him as being a good front rower and a consistent starting front rower for the next 5-6 years moving forward, sort of thing. I hope we see him reach the heights, and if we do, look out Bulldogs.
Yeah.
But regardless, even if he doesn't quite hit his potential, he's still going to serve a great role for the Doggies and what they need, and that's just a bit of a bigger bodied middle forward.
And look, let's say it's around 800K. Yeah, I can cop that. I'd probably land around, like, in a perfect world, to get him around 700, 750, but I think 800's not too crazy.
Even just like Reed Marnie chirping up and pissing blokes off. Now he's got Leo Thompson to come over top and go, don't touch him.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. If it is true that other clubs offered more, it's a really good, you'd be stoked as the Bulldogs, the fact that he took less to go there. It's a really good sign that he's going to buy into what, hopefully buy into what they're building there. So yeah, love this for the Bulldogs. Love it. I'm so interested to see the Bulldogs over the next couple of years, like what their signings are going to look like, what direction they're going to head. Now, the Knights. So his twin brother, I think, came across from Union, but it's only a 1-year deal, I think. So I think that, like, that's what I was getting confused at, of like, why would he leave the Knights when his brother's just come along? But he'll still be at the club while his brother's at the club for now. Now, it depends what his brother ends up doing after that year. But at the Knights, now, a few fans have messaged me and said they've got some really good young front rowers coming through. But the issue I have with the Knights, I just feel like, now, and granted, they've got new general manager, and they've kind of changed a few roles at the club. But I feel like every time it looks like they're headed towards a direction with recruitment and squad planning, they almost like reset again and then go another direction. And
Sorry, let me just clarify. Tyrone Thompson is there this year, but on development. 2026, he's there NRL top 30.
Oh, so it's 2-year deal.
So it's 2-year deal.
Okay, I apologise. Okay, wow. That is weird. That is very strange that he would come and his brother. Anyway, is what it is. But yeah, back to the Knights. I'm just a bit unsure of, like, what the direction is with their recruitment. I don't know where they're headed. Like, I just feel like they're constantly resetting and starting again. What are your thoughts with the situation?
It does seem to be choppy and changing a lot. I mean, we've spoken about the halves a lot there, but they've gone in so many different directions there. And to be fair to the Knights, you take calculated punts on different players. It doesn't always work out.
Yeah. Combinations
don't work. Sometimes they might not fit in, whatever it might be. Front rowers, Mitchy Barnett left a couple of years ago. Leo Thompson, he's sort of come up now. He's on the way out.
Saifidi has been moved on.
So it's like there's not a lot of consistency in and around that team. Kalen Ponga's the staple at the back there. But it sounds like Jaden Brayley, as it stands, is still there, right?
Yeah, so initially there was whispers that they were willing to move him on, and now they want to keep him. And
so it just seems a little bit disgruntled, not necessarily like off the playing field, but roster management.
That's what I mean. Like, I'm just unsure.
There's a lot of player turnover.
Yeah, whereas I look at, like, for example, the Bulldogs, and even if they were struggling in the last 12 to 24 months, it was a very clear direction that you could see externally and go, okay, we can see what they're trying to do here. When I look at the Knights, I don't really see what is the process.
Well, you even look at their recruitment in recent years, and correct me if I'm wrong, but how many recruits have they brought in that have hit the ground running or gone like, yep, great value for money, they've nailed it? Like, I'm just thinking, I'm talking post-signing Ponga, obviously that was a long time, but I'm thinking the last 2, 3, maybe 4 years.
You look at the whole Ponga to 6 situation completely stuffed up their whole recruitment, because what happened? They put Ponga at 6, they brought in Lachlan from the Sharkies, they traded their under-19 New South Wales front rower to the Sharkies, and then Ponga got moved back to fullback, he got moved on, and so since then their halves, obviously Mitch Pearce also moved on as well. Since then, like, their whole recruitment has just been a bit out of whack. And look, in the Knights' defence, they brought Brayley in, and he's just had the most unlucky run as well. So that's obviously contributed to, like, pairings, combinations, recruitment. But I every time I feel like they're heading in a direction, I feel like they go, okay, we're going to make a change of management and reset again. And granted, also in their defence, so Peter Parr came in 2 or 3 years ago. They've also got, is it O'Sullivan now that they've got a club?
Yeah.
So, and he only came 12 months ago? Not even that.
If that, yeah.
And so, as I said, in their defence, if they are resetting for O'Sullivan to go forward from this point onwards, then I understand it. My only concern is we get another 2 years down the road and there's another reset in the recruitment strategy. And I hope that isn't the case.
Yeah. And I'm just sort of going through a few of them on positive recruitments. Dane Gagai's 2022, Greg Margie was at a similar time. They've both
brought Dom Young as well.
Dom Young.
I know they lost him, but that wasn't their fault. Like, that wasn't really their fault, to my understanding.
Yeah, but elsewhere, just not a lot of signings who have really hit the ground running. But as I said, maybe it is a case of, you get a new, not just a recruitment manager in, but such a high-profile one. They're getting the squad that they want, the roster that they want. So, it takes time.
Well, you look at O'Sullivan and you go, you'd almost be crazy to bring him in and not give him free reign. I guess that in a vacuum is fine, but the problem is they've been resetting almost every 2 years for 5 years.
It's not even critiquing on-field performances, because they've played finals the last 2 years and they've been really good. They've gone on some great runs, as we know. But just in terms of roster stability, why do all these players wanting to leave? Is it that, recruitment managers or the club are saying, well, no, you're out of our plans now, they've changed? I don't know, but it hasn't been stable.
Well, O'Sullivan got there in June.
Like, for example, I look at the Knights and I always say this, I feel like they've been playing good footy in spite of some of the decisions above them. In spite of, like, even some of the coaching decisions and the selection decisions, I feel like they've almost played above. Like, I feel like a lot of other squads would let that distract them. And yet this Knights side, for some reason, they just keep hanging in there. And that shows the culture of, Steel City just hanging in there, the working class environment. So I tell you what, if O'Sullivan can get in there and work his magic, and they can keep KP at the back there, I mean, geez, could be special. So hopefully they do. But it is, they've lost Saifidi. They've essentially lost, like, Barnett, Saifidi, and now Thompson. That's a lot of drainage in such a key position, but hopefully they can sort it out. But it's definitely a big loss for Knights fans.
But even then, like, going back slightly further, but Connor Watson left there to go to the Roosters. Kurt Mann, say it you will, I always loved him as a player, but Kurt Mann's gone down and been terrific at the Bulldogs. There's been a lot of movement.
Yeah. So I hope it settles down now that O'Sullivan's there. Anyway, we'll see. Now, Jerome Luai shrugs off contract clauses. He said, I'm locked into the club and bringing success to this team. If you're a Tigers fan, be excited that you just come. I'm all in. He also revealed he'd watched every Tigers game from 2024 twice. He apparently told them if he was playing, he would have made finals in 2024. Love that. Love that. I mean, that's what you want. Yeah, that's what you want. Like, I know it's cocky and all that kind of stuff, but listen, he's coming to the club to do that. So you want him to believe that he can do it. Look, we've already been through this last year in regards to the clauses. You just had to do whatever outside of completely ruining your salary cap, you just had to do whatever you could to get to Luai to the club. They got him on. Yes, he's on a big wicket, but it's not crazy. It's not like a $1.6 million deal per year. I'm fine with it. Do what you got to do to get him to the club. Now, if you're offering those clauses to like some rookie that's okay or shows some promise, that's a different story. But you're talking about Jerome Luai. He's going to be at the club for at least, 2 or 3 years? I'm happy with that.
I am too, yeah. Need to do something, 3 wooden spoons on the trot to get a bloke coming off 4 premiership wins on the trot to your club. Yeah. So all good with it. Watching every game twice, if that's true, and no reason why it isn't, I love that.
Yeah, 100%.
Because that is what we're signing, because I would say 99.9% of NRL players signing at a new club wouldn't do that.
No.
If he's done that, that is elite.
That is an example of buying culture. Like, you're purchasing him for his on-field stuff, but you're bringing that kind of dedication and professionalism. Like, that's a professional that's going, I'm getting paid a lot of money. I don't just turn up from 8 o'clock in the morning till 5 o'clock at night. I am a professional at what I do. My whole life is built around being the best version of myself for whatever I'm doing, and that's what Luai is doing. So
my very quick math could be very wrong. 33.3 hours a season of game time. That sounds about right.
Well, mate, we watch every game every weekend, and it's long. It's long. Don't get me wrong. Very grateful that we get to do it, but it's a lot of footy.
So every Tigers game from 20, so that's 66 hours of footy he's watched, if that's the go.
Which would be, average out.
Horribly wrong. But
let's say you watched a game a day. You're looking at about a month's worth of. Jesus, that's a lot of dedication. Reckon you watched it on 2-speed? Got it on the YouTube and just
surely
2-speed it up? Surely. No, you watched it on the KO Mini. You watched the KO Mini. Shout out KO. So, yeah, love to hear that. And, again, the culture is going to bring in just the standards. At the very least, he's going to bring a standard. He's not going to allow, when he's at training and there's that young fella that takes that shortcut, and usually when you're at a club that's struggling and you don't have a strong senior playing group, no one says anything because they're too scared to say it. I guarantee you, Jerome Luai is not going to care about whether that young player likes him, if his feelings are hurt or anything like that. He's going to go back and say, mate, if you don't make that time, you're gone. Like, get out of here. We don't want you here. And that's just what the senior players should be doing at a club by making sure standards are met. Adam Reynolds has undergone neck surgery over the Christmas period. He said it should be sweet for round 1, but will miss about 4 weeks of pre-season. Geez, isn't it a big year for Reno? I like that they just got in and got it done, but it's just going to be so important that he plays as many games as possible for the Broncos. Now, it's a bit of a myth that he's injury prone. I know you can kind of get that because he does gets little nigglies here or there, but if you actually go back over his last 5 years, he averages, I think, more than 20 games. Last year was actually the least games he's ever played in his career. So you could argue it's just a one-off, or maybe it's his age. I'm not sure. We'll see this year.
3 seasons out of his whole career, he's played less than 20 games.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's actually a little bit of a myth that he's injury prone all the time. However, it's just so important. Adam Reynolds is so key to them. Even with Benny Hunt at the club, Adam Reynolds needs to be playing as many games as possible. So hopefully, like, the problem with neck injuries, you don't want him to be coming to the year not confident. So let's hope that that's all sorted, all good to go.
Yeah, not ideal. The reality is you've got a 34-year-old halfback in the game who's not injury prone, because I feel
little niggle injuries.
Yeah, niggling. Yeah. So he always misses little bits and pieces or stretches of games without ever being anything too serious. I suppose the issue now is just going through a whole pre-season, heading into the new year without your 5'8" and your halfback for round 1 from the year before. So they're going to have a new halves combination, which in the long term could serve them great for depth and getting players in there and amongst the group. It makes it a tricky start to the season for them. Very much so.
While on the Broncos, the NRL have officially issued Ezra Mam a breach notice for bringing the game into disrepute. He's got 9 game suspension, not including All-Stars, so the All-Stars won't be counted towards the suspension. Broncos fined him $90,000, not suspended or anything like that, so 90 grand, and NRL, I think 30. So in all up, $120,000 worth of fines. The Broncos also said Mam would have to complete a safe driving program, work or study placement, and commit to ongoing wellbeing support. Yeah, look, I'm really, really surprised at this, a 9 game suspension. Look, I'm not a professional in regards to dishing out punishments or whatever, and look, I'm not talking about spite or anything, but me personally, I really felt that he probably a season is where I would have landed if I was making that decision. I'm very, very shocked at 9 games. It just doesn't make sense when you compare it to some other things that have happened. Yeah, I don't agree with it, but I didn't make the decision. So
yeah, unders. I think probably should have gotten more than that for what happened. See, the hardest thing is just like you said, can we just comparing different suspensions in the game, and you sit there and go, oh, he gets 9 for that when other people got similar, or a few less or a few more for different sort of stuff, and you go, what he's done isn't good. I'm with you, mate. It's not my job to determine it, is it? So I think Ezra personally is sitting there on 9 game suspension. I'll take that for sure. To win for the Broncos, missing 9 games, but yeah. Yeah,
even as a Broncos fan, and as I said, this is not a spiteful, I just think that I don't agree with the 9 weeks. I think it should have been. I personally felt a season would be best for everyone. It's my opinion.
Yeah, I'm with you. I thought 9 was way too soft. I think definitely should have been a season. I didn't really have much more to add. I think it was pretty disappointing. When the news came out, I was pretty disappointed, and
me too, to be honest.
And I knew what the reaction would be, and it was pretty much outrage, and that's what it's been. I think it's definitely the wrong decision, and we're gonna. The problem is now, and this is going to be used as a yardstick for so many things now. It's just completely the wrong decision, and it's very disappointing.
But you're absolutely right. It's a precedent. You're setting a precedent now. So very disappointing. I don't agree with it, but I don't make the decision. Very disappointing, though. I agree with you. When I read it, I couldn't believe it. But yeah, just disappointing. I don't have much more to add, to be honest. What can you say? Just disappointing. And it's not from a position of trying to punish anyone or as in being spiteful and hurting people. It's just, I felt like, it'd be better for Ezra as a young fella to take a longer time to, repent and build a better version of himself with a much more serious suspension, in my opinion. That's the way I felt. It's not a spite thing. It's not a, I felt like sometimes just give him more time. I just felt a season was more appropriate.
9 games feels like a bit of a slap on the wrist, doesn't it?
It just doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel right. It just doesn't feel right. And as I said, it's not a spite thing of trying to hurt anyone. It's what's right and almost justice to a degree. And sometimes if I've done something wrong, some part of me would almost want that justice to be fair, so that you can feel like you've repented at least. And not everyone's going to agree. Some people would say it should be more, it should be even more. But for me, sometimes obviously you don't want to be out forever or whatever, but sometimes you would want to feel like if I get a fair suspension or whatever, I've served my time. And I just don't know whether
it's somewhat clears a guilty conscience.
Yeah,
in some
you
way.
can say I did my time. Okay, I stuffed up, guys. I did the work. I'm so sorry. I'm so apologetic. But is he really going to feel that after 9 weeks? I don't know. I'm not Ezra, and I don't know. Obviously I know him, but I don't know what he's thinking. But for me personally, I would feel like I want to come out the other end and to a reasonable person be able to say that was a fair punishment. I've learnt my lessons. Here is all the evidence of me trying to show that I'm apologetic and that I'm a better version of myself. And I just don't know whether 9 weeks is going to do that. Just don't know.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? I don't feel it will. Yeah. I don't feel it will. My opinion.
I don't think it's not good for Ezra either.
I don't think it is. I really don't think this is good for Ezra either. I really don't. But yeah, it is what it is. Alrighty, guys. The Daily Telegraph reported this morning Rusty Crowe wants to sell 25% ownership stake of the Rabbitohs, estimated to be worth about 15, 20 million. Other shareholders are James Packer, Cannon Brooks, Rabbitohs members, all with equal shareholdings. In 2006, he and Peter Holmes, a court paid $3 million to buy the club. It is understood a US investor has shown recent interest and is carrying out a business appraisal and due diligence of the Rabbitohs operations. This will have little effect on South's future, with the club now being financially stable, running self-sufficiently and regularly making profits under Chief Executive Blake Solly and Chairman Nick Pappas. However, the Rusty, the Gladiator, he's come out and said, hang on a sec, bruh. Hang on a sec. Where is this all coming from? Matty, I'll let you speak the wise words of the Gladiator.
This is exactly from the horse's mouth on Twitter/X. What would January in Australia be without desperate legacy media conspiracy theories? Enjoy the summer sun while it's there and ignore the trolls. Wayne Bennett back on board. A fresh energy about the place. An arrowhead on our intentions.
Ooh, an arrowhead. Holy, look out.
He's just missed a golden opportunity just to tweet Leo DiCaprio, I ain't fucking leaving. Why didn't he just go that, Rusty? When I first saw this come out, I was like, I was gutted for Matty. I was gutted for the Bunnies, but like in the space of a few hours, all is well.
All is well. I wish he had ended it with, are you not entertained?
Yeah.
That would have been good. Are you not entertained? Love that. Look, you need guys like all the big clubs need big heavyweights, being a part of them. And I mean, talk about heavyweights, holy shit. And like you look at, for example, when the Laundry Group took over the Bulldogs, I don't understand, the Laundry Group isn't bloody Gladiator, a movie star, but they are highly, a lot of money, a lot of connections, and a lot of power. All clubs need it to be able to, you need that much weight to be able to whip a club into shape. And that's what Russell Crowe and the boys did when they took over the club all those years ago. So I think, and also, Rusty and the Rabbitohs, they're synonymous. It would be weird almost him not being involved now, in my opinion. What do you reckon? Matty is a Rabbitohs fan.
Yeah, when I read that this morning, I'm on such a high from the cricket. I'm not even thinking about rugby league, but it was just a little dagger to the heart when I read that, because it seemed all 100% legit. Russell Crowe saved South. He genuinely, when they bought the club in 2006 for 2007, they'd won 3 games in 2006. 2007, they make the finals for the first time in my entire life, and I was in high school. And then 7 years later, they win the comp. They've made countless. I know they haven't won any more comps, but they've been in the grand final. They've won, it all started with Rusty. So yeah, it was a bit disappointing, but it is cricket season, so it didn't really I kind of just brushed it off. But then when I read that tweet earlier, I got goosebumps, and it's really put me back in the mood for rugby league. Russell Crowe, him and South Sydney, they just go together so perfectly.
Alrighty, Jaden Sullivan has officially signed with the Rabbitohs 2025. However, the contract allows him to return to the Tigers 26, 27, should he want to. Look, again, I know this is a bit messy and, all over the shop, but the Tigers have to do something. And so if they can send him to the Rabbitohs and he kills it and he wants to stay and they can offload the contract, then just, if they've exhausted all other options, I don't mind it. Just, they've got to try something. I like it. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it's essentially a loan deal.
Pretty much. He's sucked by a lot of halves of our club. He's on contract for us. We don't really need him this year, barring a ton of injuries. So then let's go and get this bloke who is capable, as we know, of playing first grade football. Not that he's going to start at the Bunnies, but there's going to be more opportunity for him there.
But there's a chance of that Wayne Bennett magic. You know what I mean?
Exactly, for sure.
It's that Sullivan
Bennett. That's what the
Bennett.
Tigers are thinking. They're going, the more games he can play, the better. As it stands, there's not great opportunity at the Tigers. The Bunnies get more depth in their halves by signing him, if that's how they've said it, and they figure that they need more depth in their halves, or a 14, whatever it might be. And then, hopefully he comes back with a few games under his belt, confidence, the Bennett magic's been sprinkled on him, and he comes back to the Tigers the following year and kills it. It's weird, but I like it.
As I said, when you are at the bottom of the table and you've had the many dramas that, we're not even going to talk about all the other dramas at the Tigers, because I feel sorry for the fans. Don't even worry about it. Put it this way, I don't think the West Tigers are going anywhere. You reckon the NRL's going to allow that shit to happen? Give me a break. If anyone breaks away, do you reckon the NRL's going to allow them to have another license somewhere else?
I didn't even, when we were doing the notes last night, I did not, it don't even come to my head to put that in the notes.
Just to ease your, not to ease your mind, Tigers fans, because look, I can't predict the future. But knowing Vlandis and how he operates from afar, as we do, you reckon he would ever allow half the West Tigers, is it the Balmain side that reportedly wants to bail and then go and join he would never allow that. He'd say, mate, you never. I mean, look, this is pure speculation. I got no evidence for it. But he would say, you're going to bounce on the West Tigers and you think I'm going to allow you to come in and be with another club? Like, what? How does that make any sense at all?
Yeah.
So I just, anyway, in my opinion, if I was a Tigers fan, I wouldn't worry about that at all. I don't know the future, but that's my opinion. Okay, let's get to Manly re-sign Anthony Seibold for 2 more seasons. Don't mind this. Don't mind it. I like the fact that it's 2 years. I like the fact it's not a super long deal. Look, I'm still not like sure Seibold will turn out to be the best coach ever. However, I thought he was really good last year. I really liked the fact that he had almost not introduced like a new style of rugby league, but I loved the fact that Manly said, no, we're going to play a different style of footy. We're going to spread it coming out our own end. We're not going to copy the Penrith Panthers system or the Melbourne Storm system. We're going to do our own kind of thing. And it got results. Got a bit unlucky with Tommy Turbo getting a bit injured at the end there. I don't mind it. And then you've also got to ask yourself who else is out there. 2 seasons, short, not too long. I think that, I think it's a decent signing.
Yeah. Not to sound like there's an echo in the echo at the bar, but
it's a pretty obvious.
It's an obvious one. But the key, as you said, it's just the time frame.
Yeah.
More than 2 years would have been all right. Like you're putting a lot of faith in him
for a guy that's had 1 bad year, 1 good year.
Exactly, but there's not a lot of other coaches out there. They definitely couldn't afford to lose him if there were other options come up elsewhere. So I think it's perfect. He's proven enough, and particularly strategically, tactically on field, that expansive style of footy, it worked for them this year for the most part. And good re-signing.
We'll say though, throwing things out like Tommy to 6 and that, and it's just like, brother, just pump the brakes.
Yeah, woo.
Let's just pump the brakes. But yeah, look, I am happy for Seibold from a perspective of like, mate, when that Broncos situation happened, he would have been paying $1.01 to never coach in the NRL again. That's how dramatic it was. And to fight his way back into a NRL coaching job, and yes, the first season wasn't great, but he did inherit a roster, and then the second season was good. You've got to admire and respect that. You really do. Rugby league is a game of second chances, and he has done that. He's fought his way back after one of the craziest. I mean, the whole Anthony Seibold Broncos situation. Have we seen we've seen a lot of crazy coaching situations, but this was wild. That was wild.
That was right up there.
That was seriously right up there. But he's managed to fight his way back into it, so you've got to respect that.
Top 8 this year, second week of finals.
Got the best out of all his signings too.
Yeah, and the squad is just building really well, and that's the key thing.
Yep.
Key re-signings, their depth feels really good.
Backs are some of the best depth in the competition.
Yeah, and he's obviously a major part in that. So.
Yep. Okay. Jai Opetaia versus David Nyika. This will be Face the Music, brought to our friends over at Sportsbet. Before we get into it, though, don't forget, guys, January 20th, 6 p.m, 50% off everything at Bloke. Everything. Hoodies, hats, you name it. 50% off everything, including a brand new drop. Never before done shirt and design. You're going to love it. It's summer themed. It's perfect. You'll love it. And then also, January 20th, 6 p.m, 25% off everything at grumpycoffee.com.au. Get around it. And 50% off everything at Bloke, including the undies as well. That's Jan 20th, 6 p.m. That's a Monday, not next Monday, the Monday after. All right. Face the Music, brought to you by Sportsbet. Cruiserweight world title fight between Opetaia and Nyika takes place in the Goldie on Wednesday on DAZN. Opetaia was originally set to face IBF mandatory Chinkara. I hope I'm saying that right, Chinkara here. But Chinkara broke his ankle, allowing Nyika to step up in the opportunity, just his 11th pro fight. Look, boys, Face the Music, brought to you by Sportsbet. Give us a follow on the feed, guys. Give us a follow. It shows the Sportsbet that this is working, that the partnership's great. So just takes 2 seconds. Boom, give us a follow. Past 20,000 followers over the break. So people are loving it. Get around it. I'm going to go Jai Opetaia via TKO gets the job done.
I'm also going to go Jai Opetaia via TKO gets the job done.
Let's give it a round.
Yeah,
got
to give it a round because he is a heavy favourite.
Round.
I'm going round 4.
Sportsbet have got it in increments of 2. So you can go 1 to 2, 3 to 4.
They have both.
You know what? I'm going to go round 5 to 6. There, 5 to 6.
Okay, round 5 to 6 is paying $5.20.
Okay.
I'm going 3 to 4.
3 to 4 is
nice
paying
and early.
$7.25. Well, I will, to be different, go 7 to 8 at $5.20.
Okay.
Just favourite hunters, you two.
Oh, give me a break. Anything else going on, boys? Anything else going on? I mean, also, guys, next week, there's a bit more news here. but we're going to wait for all the boys to be back. Re-signings, you got Cam McInnes re-signed, Wilton, Tapua, Lioro, Pezzett, Lemuelu, Donahue, Toya, Flanagan, Wakeman reported also with a trial with Manly. And also we'll go over the Cowboys injuries. There's a bit of other rugby league news, but we're going to wait till all the boys are back to talk about it because obviously it's not going anywhere and there's not much going on in regards to footy. So next week we're going to dive deep into all that we just talked about. But anything else going on?
Just SC Playbook Cricket, mate.
Follow?
Popping off YouTube and, of course, the Spotify, all that. Yes, the Supercoach cricket season not far from an end, only about 10 or 11 days. Plenty of content there, but we're expanded this summer to general cricket content with the podcast, with our socials. So, SC Playbook Cricket, mate.
Okay, get around it. And, guys, don't forget, Blokes Bucket List. Beak is vlogging. I'm a vlogger now. I'm a vlogger. That's going to drop this week, most likely Thursday, probably around 6 p.m. or maybe a bit earlier. But on Thursday, Beak's first ever vlog. My first ever vlog. I'm a vlogger, baby. Anyway, as usual, we'll go and fuck ourselves. Thank you.
What are you really gambling with? For free and confidential support, call the number on the screen or visit the website.